They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge and name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives, we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life matters is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight to heal the wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life matters is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hello, good evening, social change warriors and justice seekers. Welcome to our Wednesday live stream, the Happily Justified Angry Bitch Club. This is our Wednesdays where we ladies mostly, but men are always welcome. Mostly ladies, we get together on Wednesdays and we discuss events and tragedies that are happening to women around the country and globally, if we are covering something globally, but it's mostly in the United States. We are standing and advocating for victims of domestic violence, homicide, and their families. And there are other cases occasionally that we will also chat about and talk about and discuss and break down on Wednesdays. And we will talk about anything that you are interested in talking about, anything that you're interested in having a bitch session about, something that's really bothering you, upsetting you, that has to do with justice for women. Wednesdays, our primary focus is on women, but we have spoken of tragedies that have happened to men on Wednesdays as well. The Angry Bitch Club on Wednesdays is open for anything that we want to talk about, that we want to air our grievances about. And that's what we're here for on Wednesdays, just to be able to have a time together to be really upset about some things that are happening in our country that have to do with justice for our fellow humans. So welcome. Tonight's primary focus is on the really sad and tragic death of Suzanne Morphew in the state of Colorado. I have been following this case since it first happened since she first went missing, because I have had an interest in domestic violence homicide for many, many years, hoping that these women will get the justice they deserve. And in many cases, they do not. And that is simply because in many cases having to do with domestic violence homicide, the perpetrator, who is 85% of the time their boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, husband, ex-husband, unalives themselves, either immediately afterwards or several days or while the law enforcement are searching for him. So it's a really sad state of affairs for the entire family and the children that are left parentless, because so many of these domestic violence homicides involve the father or the husband or the boyfriend taking his own life as well. And it's just a sad, horrible epidemic. The numbers have been going up in recent years. Currently, 1 in 3 women are a domestic violence victim right now. So right now, if you just look around your surroundings, go into a grocery store, go to a major event like a football game or a basketball game or a hockey game or any sporting event, and think about that statistic. Statistics are important, and they're difficult to talk about because they're very dry. And you know, people that want to help people and want justice for these women, they want to hear about what happened and tell me about the evidence and tell me if he's going to get arrested. And I do all that, but I also have to talk about the statistics, because that is why we have to be so alarmed. When these numbers go up, it's even more alarming. We have more work to do, more advocacy, more education. And as you know, here at Social Change Warriors, our pillar is knowledge, power, action, change. And that's what we're about here. We feel that if we can give you the knowledge of what is happening, in our country, that will help you to understand what's going on. And then we can take some action, hopefully together as a community, and work together. Hi, Amber. Thank you. Justice for Suzanne. Yes, absolutely. I have met you before. I've seen you in the social medias, and I know you've been with me before when I have talked about Ellen Greenberg and Suzanne Morphew. And thank you so much for being here. I had to go early tonight, so I'm not expecting a big live crowd, but hopefully on the replay, we'll be able to share this out with Suzanne's soldiers and everyone that's standing for justice for Suzanne, and some of the other topics I'm going to talk about tonight as well. So I'm just going to pause for 2 seconds. I'm going to hand my puppy his bone. So give me 2 seconds. Okay, thanks so much. So as I was saying, Wednesdays is the night that I have named the Angry Bitch Club. And several of you have emailed me and asked me about why do we call Wednesdays the Angry Bitch Club? Well, first of all, when I started live streaming for justice and for calling out corruption, I was going on Thursday nights, and I was going with Calling Out Corruption is the name of my Thursday night live stream, where we're talking about cases that we know. Either we know for 100% there's corruption, or we are guessing there's corruption, and we're looking at all the evidence that is pointing to police and government corruption, and we have our opinions and our theories. So remember, everything I say on my live streams on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays is my opinion. But it is my opinion, not just shooting it out there at you. I study these cases. I look at the police reports where available. Some of them are redacted if the cases are still open. If the cases are closed, I can look at all the police reports. I can look at body camera if it's available, if the cases are closed. I can see autopsy reports when the cases are closed, and sometimes when they're still open, there's autopsy reports shared, as in the case of John O'Keefe. They were showing, many of his autopsy reports. They're very difficult to look at, but they help us understand the true picture of what happened to this person and point maybe evidence as to how it happened and who could have done this to this person. So our advocacy channel, we are a volunteer. I do not get paid. This is my volunteer mission to end out my life. I needed something to do with myself. Retirement isn't always as it's cracked up to be. And I was trying to decide what to do. So Social Change Warriors formed about 5 years ago. And I was doing pre-recorded, some public speaking, working with fellow social workers, working on problems in our communities all around the country. There were 12 of us, and we were all located in different states. Our goal at the time was to get one Social Change Warrior social worker in every state. But it's difficult to build a program. It really is. Trust me, I tried to do it for 5 years from the ground up, and it's very very difficult. So I had to have a surgery. I took a break. And while I was on my break, I was still following the Suzanne Morphew tragedy, as well as Suzanne Clark Simpson, and was more recent. But that one I became interested in right before I started live streaming as well. And of course, Sandra Birchmore. I've always followed that poor girl's tragedy and never believed that she unalived herself. Never once, even way before I started live streaming. And then Jennifer Farbo-Dulos, I was following her case. And then Ellen Greenberg, way back in 2011. I had just retired from the police force not too much before that. And so domestic violence, volunteerism has always been something I've been involved with. And then my master's degree is in social work with an emphasis on domestic violence. So these cases mean something to me because I want there to be more advocacy for women. Women are being beaten up and unalived at staggering numbers here in our country, and we all need to be worried about it. We all need to be concerned, and you as females need to be concerned. If you see any signs at all of this type of dangerous behavior in your husband or your boyfriend or your exes, if there's any stalking going on or inappropriate texting or social media posting, you need to be very careful and very leery. One minute, these women appear to be leading normal, happy lives. And then the next minute, they are unalived by the person they're married to or dating or was married to or was dating. And again, 1 in 3 every day are being hurt, beat up, punched, kicked. Verbal abuse goes on every day. And we don't even know the numbers because women are afraid to tell anyone. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be married to someone or dating someone who's treating you so poorly. So these numbers are very skewed because we don't even know what they are. They're much higher. I can guarantee you they're much higher. There's so much violence going on in our country with women. It's just appalling. So Wednesdays is our night to honor women who have been victims. We've had several survivors on our show on Wednesday nights celebrating their survival, and now they are advocating for other women. As Levita put it in her documentary that her and I did together, get out, get free. There is nothing better than freedom, Levita says, because when you're in a bad marriage or a bad relationship, you're not free. You're constantly tied to the negativism and the toxic relationship that you're involved in, and there's no freedom in that. So Levita always encourages in her advocacy, and I'll have Levita back on here again in a while. It's hard for her to come and speak of it. She survived being strangled by the person who was the father of her child and someone she thought loved her, and she survived it. And it was one of her most telling quotes when her and I were meeting about the documentary and putting it together was, "I saw death in his eyes for me." And that is terrifying. And that is what has happened to the ladies that we are advocating for. Suzanne Morphew, Sandra Birchmore, Ellen Greenberg, Jennifer Farbo-Dulos, no justice. She's still missing, and he unalived himself. Ashley Lachey Elkins, she's still missing. He's arrested, but not admitting to any of it, just like Barry Morphew is saying he didn't do this. But Suzanne Morphew, whoever took her life, whoever takes any of these women's lives, they saw what Levita saw. They saw death in their eyes for her. And my life mattered is what they're telling all of you now, that they had a life, they had children, family, jobs, hobbies, they cared about things in their communities and politically, and they were humans. They were one of our fellow humans. And because somebody doesn't like what they're doing and they feel they have the right to touch them and lay hands on them, they are no longer with us. So we are standing for justice and advocacy for victims of domestic violence and survivors of domestic violence. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And we will continue on Wednesdays to air our grievances and talk about what is going on in this country. We have laws that do not support women. They do not support women leaving their vicious husbands or vicious boyfriends, because when they have children, then the court allows these men to see these children. Of course, they want the dads to be in their life, but this person's violent. Where are the laws protecting the mother and the child? This violence could happen at any time. It doesn't mean they won't be violent to the children. We have no real way to know. And why are these men getting unsupervised visits with their children when they have been beating up the child's mother? This has never made any sense to me. And so many women are unalived, and then the father has custody of these children, and then they unalive themselves because the evidence then points to them and they're about to get arrested, and they take the children with them. This has happened way too many times in our country, and this is because of improper laws in the court system, in the family court system. We're not protecting women who are in the middle of domestic violence, either divorces or leaving their spouse, or they have left their spouse. It's an absolute travesty, and we have to do better as a community. So we are going to continue to push for justice for all of the ladies that have been unalived by their spouses, their partners, their intimate partners. And trigger warning, on Wednesdays, we swear. Sometimes my guests and I, we feel the need to swear, so we let it all hang out. We're grown adults. I have no young children in my house, just my puppy dog here with me now. So we are not monetized. So YouTube, I'm sorry, but sometimes on Wednesdays, we're going to swear. And we may say some of the words that you don't want us to say, like the M word, because it's a word in the dictionary. And these women have been murdered. They did not die of a disease. They were taken out by someone else's hand, and it was their intimate partner. And it's despicable and disgusting. So I am Catherine Felton Page. I'm your host for Wednesday's Angry Bitch Club, Happily Justified Angry Bitch Club, Thursdays for Calling Out Corruption, and Fridays for our trial watching and witness reviews for the trials that we're covering on Social Change Warriors. We are a nonprofit. We are a volunteer group. We're hoping to go nonprofit. We're technically not registered as a nonprofit, but we do not accept any money to do this coverage, this advocacy, and standing for the families that we work with live. We actually meet the families. We help them with their advocacy campaigns. We help them try to get their cases reopened or try to push for them to be solved. Whatever we can do, we do it when we're not live streaming. So knowledge, power, action, change. That's our theme. That's what it takes, everyone, to solve these cases, to advocate for people who are not getting justice in our communities. So on Wednesdays, the bees got a buzz. So welcome. You're welcome to say anything you'd like to say, share anything you'd like to share. Hi, Susie Boo. Welcome. Welcome again, Amber E. So glad to see you here. I know I went early tonight. I apologize, but I was hoping to go early for Suzanne, who is one of our subscribers and friends and advocates of Social Change Warriors. She is living in England. So by going at 7 p.m. Eastern, that helps her out a little bit so she can still get to bed at a decent time. So we're going to try to do 7 o'clock for the Angry Bitch Club going forward on Wednesdays, but we'll stick to 8 o'clock for Calling Out Corruption on Thursdays, and Friday night trials, Friday night lies following the trials on Fridays. We'll stick to 8 o'clock. So welcome again. Tonight, I've got some things I want to go over with you, and then we're going to get to Suzanne Morphew right away. But I just want to share a couple interesting tidbits with you that I found interesting. So on Friday Night Lies, Julie and I were talking about, Julie brought up, and yes, Suzanne Powell, absolutely, Amber E., absolutely devastating. And that could have all been prevented. That was in the court system, and it could have been prevented. I don't know if we could have prevented her death, but I think with advocacy and people, see something, say something, it's possible that her death could have been prevented, but the children's deaths almost certainly could have been prevented. And I don't blame the social worker. She was doing her job, doing what she was told. It's a systematic problem. It's systemic. It's not the social worker. That person is being paid not very much money, trust me, to do the most difficult job on the planet, which is to review cases of child abuse and children having issues in the home with their parents, and making decisions to take children away from their parents is horrific. But that is one of the saddest, just the most sad. Well, there's so many, because there's other men who have unalived the children. There's a current case right now where there's still a manhunt that I talked about recently. I'll pull that up in a little while. I actually didn't include that for tonight, but we can chat about it in a minute, because he's still missing as far as I know, but I didn't watch much news today. So, but it's just terrible. So yeah, I'll come up. Amber says that 911 call that Social made was so maddening. Yeah, I know it was, but I don't believe here's the problem, ladies, is that most of these men are narcissists. It's absolutely scientifically been researched that a lot of men who have anger control issues are narcissists. So they have what's called a narcissistic rage. When they don't get their way, they literally act like a 2-year-old, but on the worst kind of level. It's a grown adult man having a temper tantrum, only it's a violent temper tantrum. And they either punch walls, or they hit you, or they strike you, or they call you names. And in the worst case scenario, they completely snap and they unalive you. And in some cases, they've been snapping for a while. So it becomes very very sociopathic because they plan your unaliving. It's like Photos Doulos. He planned Jennifer Doulos' unaliving. That was completely planned by him. That was premeditated murder, M-word, all the way for poor Jennifer. So yes, that was absolutely maddening. It broke that whole Susan Powell case was heartbreaking. But every unaliving of a woman who's just trying to be in a partnership, just trying to be a wife and a mother or a girlfriend or a partner is maddening and disgusting. And it's the worst kind of violence. I don't know, you can't rank violence. It's all horrible. But to trust someone and believe in them and marry them and or live with them or date them, and then they unalive you, there's just no worse betrayal, really, right? So, but I just wanted to start out with something on a lighthearted. Thank you, Julie. Here she is, Julie, craziest person. So when we were together, Julie live streams with me as my partner on my friend on Friday Night Lives, where we talk about the court cases. Recently, we've been talking about Karen Reed only, but we'll be covering there's many court cases coming up now that we're going to be covering on Friday Night Lives. And she wanted to bring up shark bites because she had an interesting story that she shared with us all on Friday night. I believe it was your friend's father, right, Julie? I'm trying to make sure I remember this correctly. It wasn't your father, it was your friend's father, that they would see. They saw a shark, and I thought you said Rhode Island, but we've talked about so much, Julie, this week. My brain hurts. But they saw a shark and they yelled, "Shark in the pond." And so she was telling us that story on Friday Night Lives, and she was calling them murder sharks. And this is crazy because when I'm friends with people and I'm family with people, I'm an ESP sender. And if you don't believe in that, that's okay. But you got to trust me on this. I have literally been an ESP sender since I was a child. It scared me when I was a child because I didn't understand it. But once I got to be in high school, then I knew. And I was told by one of my mother's friends that it's just a gift and that some of us are born with it. Some of us have it stronger than others. It's this clairvoyancy. But I send things when I'll be thinking about someone that I haven't seen in so long. And by God, they'll call me within 5 minutes or they'll text me. It's eerie. And I had already had this slide in the deck for tonight about shark bites. And I was going to mention it on Friday Night Lives because it had been on the news again about sharks getting a bad rap. And lo and behold, Julie, craziest person on earth, our resident Bostonian, starts talking about murder sharks. So I just let her roll. And I don't know if she noticed, but I was just sitting here with the biggest, cat, what is that? A Cheshire cat grin on my face because I knew I was going to talk about shark bites. Well, then we found out this week that if you follow JFK, and James Jackson, they are out of Boston. They have a live stream and they were doing live streaming with music and I think other things going on in Boston prior to the Karen Reed trial. And then they got heavy into the Karen Reed trial. They have an excellent show. You should check them out. Very cutting edge. It was where the boomers, I think, first started being spread around. Somebody called people in my age group 60 and over boomers, which technically we're barely boomers. I was born in 63, so I'm barely a boomer. My mom was a boomer, but boomers end around 62, 63, and I was born in February 63. So I like to call myself a boomer, but I typically don't out loud or in public. Well, it all started, and so they started referring to some of us as boomers, like if you do something that's boomer-like, I guess, which means old-fashioned, which is fine. I love my old-fashionedness, and I love the generation that I came from. So Julie likes to follow JFK. Well, apparently they made a mention because I guess JFK likes sharks. So they made a mention of murder sharks, which is a little interesting. I don't really ever hear people talk about sharks as murder sharks. So Julie and I think that JFK might be a fan, that maybe he peeks in on us on Friday Night Lives. But I just wanted to mention this again to you guys, that sharks really do get a bad rap in our society because there is not 50% of all shark bites are in Florida. And this was a stat from 2024. There were only 14. And if you've been to Florida and you know how many beaches we have here, and they're packed constantly. And especially right now, I didn't even go for my beach walk today, ladies and gentlemen, because it's packed with the 4th of July goers. So I didn't even go over today. I went over yesterday earlier in the morning, thought I would be ahead of it. And oh no, there were beach shanties and people everywhere. So 14 shark bites in 2024 in Florida, which accounted for 50%. So there are 548 species of sharks, and only 13 of them have ever been known to bite a human. So sharks are hungry. hungry. They're looking for food. They are not man-eaters. The whole Jaws thing, which, hey, it's its 50th anniversary. Terrifying movie when you were a child to see that movie. My mom didn't even let me see it until I was in high school because it came out when I was only like 12 or 13. So anyway, that's what prompted me to talk about sharks. Was Julie and I were chatting about the 50th anniversary with Shauna on one of our personal text threads about sharks and about the anniversary of the movie Jaws. So I wanted to bring that up again. And thank you. Yes, Julie. And Susie Boo, JFK and James are great. Yes, they are so interesting. I don't always catch them live because I tend to take a little bit of breaks from true crime when I'm not live streaming and researching, which is kind of a big part of my volunteer life right now. So I usually watch them on the replay when I'm sitting out with the dogs or when I'm in a moment and I want to catch some of the other live streamers that I really enjoy their content. So yes, Julie says they are good dudes. Yes, they are. They are good dudes, soon to be decorated dudes. Their podcast may win some awards, right? So Julie says Nagel for the black blob. Oh yeah. So there's a shark in the pond. That was it. Yep, that was the quote from your friend's father. There's a shark in the pond. So anyway, thanks guys. I appreciate that. It's good to always try to start off on something a little light because what we cover on Wednesdays can be very heavy. And so first of all, I just wanted to say for all of you that were with me and Julie on Friday Night Lies, thank you. Thank you for being with us. There were many times we had upwards of 500 on our replay. I appreciate all of you that care enough about the justice for John O'Keefe and freedom of a woman that was wrongfully accused, in my opinion, and that the rest of the country is wrongfully confused because I don't know how in the world you can look at all of the evidence that there is on that case and think that the prosecution had enough to convict someone. That's not how it works in our country. They should have never taken this to trial. There are many cases where I believe the person is freaking guilty. And two of those cases are right here in Florida that I'm working with the families on. Brittany with Deshaun Hudson and Jason Veach, Kara, his lovely wife. I believe that the perpetrators are guilty, but the prosecutors feel there's not enough evidence to take it to trial. We have to live with that somehow. Kara has to live with that. Brittany has to live with that. But we can still advocate about it for a while. When I find out about these cases, I don't always guarantee the family that what I do can get them where they need to go, but I can try. We can try to raise awareness. We can try to get the public in on this and make them understand what happened to this person, give this person some justice just by advocating for them and letting their families know that they are up above in the heavens and they are saying my life mattered. And we have not forgotten about you, Deshaun Hudson. We have not forgotten about you, Jason Veach. We have not forgotten about you, Sarah Ebersol, still missing just to my west, an hour and a half to 2 hours to my west over in Marion County, missing for 2.5 years. And there's evidence, there's witnesses, but there's not enough to make an arrest. And it's maddening. It makes me sick to my stomach when I know in my heart of hearts who did this to these people, but they are telling me, the DAs are telling me, and when I talk to the sheriffs and I call these sheriff's departments and these police departments, they're telling me, ma'am, we respect what you're doing, we respect your advocacy, but we can't give you any more information. These are still open cases. Or, ma'am, this case is closed because there wasn't enough evidence to take this to trial. And that is so hard to take. And it's so hard to go back and meet with the families and talk to them and explain to them that we're doing everything we can do. And until somebody wants to come forward and offer some type of evidence that they may have been withholding, it's a very terrifying, unfulfilling path that these families are on because they're not getting their justice. And they wake up every day and that's what's on their minds. Trust me, I know, because I've met them. I've met many of these families via Zoom meetings, emails, and the ones in Florida I've met in person. They are not getting justice and they wake up every day. What can I do today? What could I do today that could move the needle, that would make a difference for my person? And I know that's how John O'Keefe's family feels. There's no doubt about that. But Karen Reed's family, on the other hand, had to face the atrocity and the sheer terror of having their daughter accused of something they believe she didn't do, that she doesn't remember doing, and that the evidence doesn't say that she did. There's no evidence that actually can just say, that's it, Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car. There's just nothing. So you can't, first of all, you should have never gone to court with this, but you did. And then a hung jury because they couldn't figure it out. They didn't have it. They couldn't figure it out. They argued about it for days. They tried to come to some type of a, a conclusion, and they couldn't do it. So we went to a second trial, and now, as you all know, this jury was able to figure it out. They could not, and in their many interviews that we've all been watching, they could not come to any decision that they felt that the CW Commonwealth is what it's called in Massachusetts. Prosecutor Hank Brennan did not convince them that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car. The injuries on his body didn't convince them. They're not suitable to a car, motor vehicle, pedestrian strike. The police officers did a horrible job handling the case from start to finish. I personally, as a former law enforcement officer, retired, do not believe that should have ever happened that way. I don't believe any police department would make that many mistakes. Something had to have happened. There had to have been a word that came down from somebody that said, this is what we need you to do and not to do. That's my humble opinion. I would never expect a police department to make such a mockery of a crime scene and of an investigation as they did in this case, this case of John O'Keefe's death and what I felt was a very wrongful arrest of Karen Reed. So Susie Boo says, Julie, I was waiting in the Karen Reed trial for Julie Nagel for the black blob. Yes, we wanted Julie Nagel on the stand again, didn't we? We wanted to hear her say that, was she going to retract and not say that she saw that black blob? So many things wrong with this case. Are we ever going to get justice for John O'Keefe? I don't know. I wish I could sit here right now and say to you, yes, they're going to figure it out. They're going to open this case back up, and they're going to start digging into all of the holes that are in this case, and they're going to come up with the evidence. But it's scary to me because I just don't know that they can. There were not 50 people involved, Brian Albert. There were not 40 people. There were not 30 people. That was such a bizarre statement that he made in his interview. We talked about it on Friday Night Lives. I'm sure we'll talk about it again this Friday. He said something to the effect of, there would have to have been 30 to 50 people involved for this cover-up and this conspiracy to be true. That's not true at all. There would only have to be a few people involved, whispering in a few people's ears saying, I need you to do this, because they believed and they trusted them. I am 100% convinced that somebody whispered in somebody's ears and said, I'm positive Karen Reed did this, but I don't have enough evidence. We're not going to be able to take her to trial. I need you to do this so that we can do that, so we can take her to trial and get justice for Johnny, get justice for our fellow police officer. I have no doubt in my mind that that's what happened. So that doesn't take 40 people. It doesn't take 30. It doesn't even take 20. It just takes the people who knew they did it, who were invested in the community, who knew police officers, who were related to police officers, who were friends with police officers at the Canton PD and Massachusetts State Police, to whisper in a couple ears and to make that happen so that it was all pointed in the direction of Karen Reed. They swiftly impounded her car. They swiftly took her phone without a warrant, and they swiftly arrested her. There was, when Michael Proctor bragged on whatever channels he was on about a thorough investigation, what bullshit, right? That was total bullshit. There was no thorough investigation. How can a thorough investigation take place in literally 48 hours? That's utter crap. For him to even expect us to believe that or to buy that is sad and disgusting. That is not a thorough investigation. A thorough investigation is protecting your crime scene first and foremost, right out of the gate, making sure you have it secured so that no one can trample in it or get in it. It is not using a leaf blower. It is not driving less than 5 minutes to your police department to get a crime scene kit or call a municipality near you and say, I might have a suspicious death here. I have a man laying in the snow in the front yard of Brian Albert's house, and don't tell me they didn't all know it was Brian Albert's house. Of course they did. That's not a very big town. I live in a bigger town than Canton, and I'm not in a very big town. Are you kidding me? So you call another municipality. This happens all the time. When I was a police officer, we had help from other agencies all the time on cases if we were overwhelmed. That's just what you do. That's just how it works. They could have called anybody else in the surrounding area. Stoughton, name some towns, people. Type in the chat box. Julie, you're from Massachusetts. Give me some towns. But there's plenty of places they could have called a lot of other towns that were within a close enough drive. Bring me a crime scene kit. Not go across the street to a fellow law enforcement officer's house. What the heck was that? So we're going to go over all of this. There's so much to say about it, of all the things that went wrong and that were wrong, and why Karen Read deserves to be free. Because no matter what you think about who actually killed John O'Keefe, you can't tell me with a clear conscience that you believe she should have been convicted on the shoddy investigation, the poor evidence, the science evidence, the body evidence on John. You can't convict someone when that's when that's all you have. So let me go back here and just tell you a couple more things, and then we're going to talk about Suzanne Morphew. On Friday night, I'm going to talk about the Jeep. I can't get past the Jeep. It's been bugging me this whole time. It's going to bug me till I figure out why in the hell some of them said the Jeep was parked in front of the mailbox, and why did that Jeep need to be parked in front of the mailbox when they went to trial? There's a reason. There's a reason because of something to do with what Lally was trying to pull off in the first trial. It completely disappeared in the second trial. That makes no sense. That should have been enough for a reasonable doubt right then and there. You've got 3 of your major witnesses testifying that the white Jeep was with the plow was parked in front of the mailbox, and then you've got all these other witnesses saying there was no white Jeep, and your theory of how he was hit and how Karen Read backed up would not work with the white Jeep. So we'll talk more about that this Friday Night Lies, because that's going to bug me for eternity. And then I like this woman. I think she's smart, intelligent. She's quirky. She's not afraid of anybody, and she gave what she felt was her opinion. I respect her for that. But I'm never going to make sense of this. I just don't. The way they explained it and the way they didn't explain it, and then they just let it go in trial 2. I want to talk about 227 again on Friday Night Lies too, with Julie and with the rest of you. So, and then of course, we're going to talk a little bit about Judge Bev on Friday night. She had some hot mic moments. She had some very difficult moments of sighing and being thoroughly disgusted with the defense, which she should never do. She has to stay impartial. That's her job. But she has a pretty storied history. I mean, she was a defense attorney. She was there for people. She helped people, fight the system. So it's hard for me. Like, I don't like using the word hate, because I don't like using the word hate, and I don't like the feeling of hate. I try to always calm that feeling down and make sense of it in my life. But a lot of people literally hate her, and they've completely trashed her on social media for her behavior during trial 1 and 2. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And hopefully our happily angry lawyer will join us Friday and give us some more insight into judges and their role. Now, Colleen O'Neill is one of my favorite people who lives in the Canton area. She is a true social change warrior. I am hoping to bring her back one of these nights. She's a very busy lady, but she is advocating in her community against just atrocities that are going on more of a white collar crime type level in her community. And so I wanted to just show you a little clip of something that she put up today, because she is a warrior and she does not quit. She has no quit in her whatsoever. And so let me go to that a minute. I just have to share my screen with y'all. So stand by here for a second.
No, I had to get my Uncle Ed's attire. Yeah. Tell him to go play in traffic. You want to hide in the bushes, you're going to wear a fucking hat, bitch. Rob! Come here! Let's go to town hall. We got to go to Uncle Ed's office. If he wants to hide in the fucking bushes, he's gonna come out of the bushes wearing fucking neon yellow, the fucking pussy bitch. Hey,
This is the guy that's been harassing her for over 2 years,
photos.
constantly.
Right? Hey, I'm standing in the fucking bushes. I want to play in traffic. Okay, Ed, here, put on your fucking yellow disguise. No matter what you wear, I can still fucking see you, idiot. Go fuck yourself. Bye.
Paul Close just went by.
Did he?
Yeah.
Let's go. No, let's clean this out. Do I walk in like this? What do I say, Rob?
You gotta tell him how it is.
Tell him how it is. Tell him he's a fucking peeping Tom Creeper. Right?
Yes.
Hey, I don't want you to get hit by a car, Ed. I'm doing you a favor. Wear the hat next time you want to come out of the bushes.
And the vest.
Yeah, and I'll take it off, right? I'll take it off, and then I'll be in my fucking sports bra. Huh? I think you're going the wrong way. Okay. Right. Yeah, so we'll do that. Okay, good. I love the game plan. Thanks for listening. He just laughs. He just giggles. You just giggle. I'll go out to office. All right. Straight. Yeah. Straight. Yeah. The bushes and playing in traffic. I have you some safety gear, all right? Can you wear this, please, so you don't get hit by a car when you stand in the middle of Walpole Street?
Great, thank you.
Will you put that on, please?
I'll put it on across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you do that while you take fucking photos like the clown that you are? Are you done? You want to continue going? What do you think? You love it. You love the attention.
What attention?
Yeah, you love the attention.
So that's Colleen O'Neill. She literally has the guts to go into the office and face down the person that's been harassing her for over 2 years. It's a lot. So I'm going to try to have her come on with us. She was on with us back in January and gave us the lowdown of what was happening. And it's just continuing. She's continuing to be harassed, revolving property surrounding their business. So I know a little bit about it, but I don't want to misquote her or tell any information that isn't true or that I've gotten confused. So I will invite Colleen back on to the Angry Bitch Club. We'll try to get her back on. And I can also, I'll show a clip when she comes on of our January get together where she gave us some of the lowdown of what was happening. But she's a brave soldier. She will go out and confront the bullies and confront the people that are basically stalking her and not having any consequences for what they are up to. So let me go back here to where we're at. So that's a shout out to Colleen, social change warrior that she is. A little bit about Sandra Birchmore before we move into Suzanne Morphew. Most of you that have followed the John O'Keefe passing, the tragic death, and the trial of Karen Reed know about Sandra Birchmore and that she was unalived by a police officer who she had been involved with for many years and involved with during a time when it was illegal for her to be involved with him. Statutory R word. Matthew Farwell is a dirty, disgusting human. And he and his cronies, fellow police officers, they groomed her from the age of 13. And I'm sure there have to be others that are afraid to come out, that maybe someday they will, or maybe they've made peace with it and gotten counseling. I don't know, but I have a hard time believing, and I've expressed this to Mizzy, who is the lead advocate for Sandra Birchmore. She was the one that along with Sandra's cousin, they started the standouts in Stoughton back when nobody was arrested, when they believed in their heart of hearts that there's no way Sandra took her own life. The evidence completely pointed to her being M-worded, to being unalived by someone else. So that, I think we're going to see the state of Massachusetts still has not charged Matthew Farwell. What is up with that, right? So we have to keep advocating for Sandra Birchmore. Why has the state of Massachusetts not put any charges? The feds got involved because there was inappropriate, they got the wind of police dirty cops and police lying and corruption. So when that happens, the federal, the FBI can get involved. It's very unusual for the FBI to get involved in these state cases because that's not their job. That's not their role. It has to be interstate. It has to do with police corruption, where the police are not policing themselves because they're all corrupt. So they're getting away with crimes. So they started looking into the Sandra Birchmore case well after she was, it was stated that she was unalived by the medical examiner, which is, it's completely ridiculous. There's so much corruption in this case. It literally makes me sick. So a lot is, not coming out yet because he's been arrested. He hasn't even gone to a hearing yet. All of his hearings have been backed up. It's very eerie. Now his most recent hearing that he was supposed to have a hearing on July 7th. Now we just found out yesterday that's been backed up. So now that's been backed up, and I don't even know the date. I'm not positively sure. Here we go. Let me see if let me share the screen with you. Let's just talk a little bit about Sandra, and then we'll move into Suzanne Morphew. These are all women whose cases have a lot of similarities, more than that we would ever imagine. So hang on a second, and I'll pull up the I just don't think anybody who knows about child teen, I have to be very careful about that now. They're being so cautious about what they allow us to say, even though these are crimes that are being committed by horrible people. These are words that in the dictionary. And now, according to Facebook and maybe even Twitter, I don't know where they're going to go with this, but I know YouTube is very sensitive. Now I have to be very careful what I say on here, or I can have my whole stream taken down. They took down a stream on Ellen Greenberg because I was talking about unaliving and I accidentally used the S word, a word that's in the dictionary. I mean, this is crazy what's happening right now that we're expected to deal with as advocates, that we cannot use words in the dictionary to advocate for people that have been unalived by someone else. And in Sandra's case, framed for her own death. It's horrific. All right, I've got it pulled up here for you. Let me share my screen and I will show it to you. You guys let me know. When I go to show videos, I'm in like this little tech room that StreamYard has for me. And when I go into it, I don't see you guys anymore. So if you can't hear the video, just type in the chat box. I'll come back into on our platform and I can read. So I'm going to start this and you guys let me know if you can hear it. There's going to be some ads, I'm sure. That might not be the one. Nope, that's not it. Sorry. It takes me a minute to get to these somehow.
여행길에 맥도날드를 들르지 않았다면 그건 여행이 아니라 그냥
Stand by. That's not the one. It's not the one I wanted. This one might not actually have a video. This might just be the whole breakdown of the Birchmore case. I thought this was actually the video. But I'll look for that later. I guess I've got the wrong one. And I'll check on that later. That was just more of a story. It wasn't what I wanted. So, but regarding Sandra, we'll talk about her. I'm going to invite Mizzy to come back on and share more with us. She is all knowing about the Sandra Birchmore case. There's a timeline that we can go over and we can talk more about it now that we have to wait again for, Matthew Farwell, I'm sorry, Williams, his twin brother, who probably was also involved. So we'll go into her. We've done some live streams on Sandra. We'll do some more. We'll dedicate an hour to her and get you back all up to speed and what's going on. So let's go back now to Suzanne Morphew. This is just horrific loss of life in Colorado. Yes, Mizzy is amazing, Amber. She absolutely is. Mizzy told us that she didn't know Sandra, but that when she found out about it, it never sat right with her. And I think we all feel that way about a lot of these unalivings of women that we find out about, and there's no arrest being made, and they're trying to blame, like in Ellen Greenberg's case, blaming herself for stabbing herself 20 times. nobody in their right mind ever believed that, but the powers that be were narcissists, and they were connected to the government and the police, and they covered it up, and they framed her, and they got away with it for all these years. There's still no justice right now. And I'll mention that at the end, what's going on with the Ellen Greenberg case. It's another tragedy, just another tragedy that's involved that we're dealing with. So let me talk a little bit with you about Suzanne Morphew. It's tough. This one really, it hurts. It hurt my heart when I first learned of Suzanne's passing back in 2020, because no one deserves this, obviously, and especially not a mother, someone who's just trying to have a good life. Hi, Brittany. Welcome, Brittany. Yes, and be a mom and be a community member. And obviously, none of the women that we've mentioned tonight that we've talked about deserved any of this from their husbands, spouses, at all. So rest in peace, Suzanne. We will continue to advocate for you as we have been doing. And now that we're live streaming for the past year, we have been able to advocate for you on our live stream and share you with others who may not know much about your fate and what happened to you. So I have a video here that I want to show you. I've got quite a few because I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel, but let me tell you the gist of what happened to Suzanne Morphew. So Suzanne, let me go get a different one up here. There we go. Suzanne Morphew was a mom of two girls. She at one time was a school teacher, and then she decided to be a stay-at-home mom and raise her children, which we all know is a very hard job and not an easy job at all. So Barry was in the construction industry, I believe, of some sort. And they decided to move from Indiana. They were high school sweethearts. I believe they met in high school. Barry was a baseball star. Suzanne was well-liked, popular, friends with a lot of people. And they ended up getting married and having two children, and they were raising them primarily in Indiana. And I believe when their oldest daughter went to college in Colorado, they decided to move to Colorado. So they were able to purchase, because of their Barry's career, this beautiful home way out in the mountains, in the kind of deserty mountain area of Colorado. And it's a small area, small town nearby, not a lot of big cities nearby. Denver would be the nearest city. And that's where they had been living for several years since their daughter went to college. And Suzanne was into working out. She liked riding bikes. So she was a bicyclist and rode her bicycle on all these mountain roads and would be out in the middle of nowhere many times. She obviously felt pretty safe. So on Mother's Day, she went on a bike ride, supposedly, allegedly. Okay. Allegedly, she went on a bike ride. Now, Barry was not home on Mother's Day, ironically, and neither were her daughters. Her daughters had been camping, and they were due to come back like late that day on Mother's Day. And Barry was on some business trip not too far away, allegedly, at a hotel, and was not home on Mother's Day. So Suzanne, the daughter, I guess, I have to remember the exact timeline of who actually called. I know that her daughter's boyfriend and the father of her daughter's boyfriend were at the house. And I believe they are the ones who called 911. And I have a clip of that we'll listen to. So she was reported missing. Barry was interviewed. He was out looking for her. His interviews seemed very suspect to me at the time when they happened. Being my background in domestic violence, I immediately went there. And I try not to, because it's not always the case, but my friends, it's 85% of the time the case. So I automatically started suspecting him because things just weren't adding up. And so eventually her bicycle was found, her helmet was found, and Barry's talking about, do you think a big cat got her? And that's like right away out of the gate. He's asking first responders where they found her bike. Do you think a big cat got her? And it was just bizarre. So slowly but surely, they started collecting evidence, doing, interviews with Barry, but they didn't arrest him right away. It took them a while to compile the evidence. And then he was arrested in 2021. But unfortunately, weeks before he was due to go to trial, the prosecution deemed that they did not have enough evidence. They felt that if he went to trial at this particular point, because her body had not been found and there was no way to prove how she died, and they believed she was unalived at that point. She'd been missing at that point close to over a year. They released him, and they released him without prejudice, meaning that they could rearrest him if the evidence, if her body was ever found, or if the evidence was presented that he could be rearrested. Well, that never happened. So the case was very quiet. We've spoken about Suzanne many times. We've looked it up. We've followed the media, and it was just very quiet. There didn't appear to be much going on. The prosecutor was disbarred. So there was some drama going on because of things that she said in the media. She was so passionate that Barry did this and so upset that she said some things she shouldn't have said, and she ended up getting disbarred. Barry sued them, and that case got dropped. And then it just seemed to go quiet. There was just nothing really in the media, nothing going on. All this time, the daughters stood by their father. They all believed that she had been abducted, and that someone had taken her and had unalived her and hid her body. And that's where they were. That's where the family stood. Now, not Suzanne's family, but her daughters, and of course, Barry and any of Barry's friends. He probably, was convincing that he didn't do this. Now, we still don't know for sure that Barry did this. He is just like Karen Reed. He is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But there is so much evidence pointing to him. And with the statistics that we know are involved in the unaliving of wives and girlfriends, it's very hard for me to conceive that he didn't do this. But I am trying to keep somewhat of an open mind for his daughter's sake, because they obviously do believe in their father's innocence and they have the right to do that. But my personal opinion is that the evidence points to him, and that it's a lot of evidence. So what has gone on in the last week is we were live streaming on Friday night, and right before that, I had found out that he had been indicted by a grand jury, that they compiled enough evidence to indict him and take him to trial. They arrested him in Arizona. I don't know if they've extradited him yet or not back to Colorado, but I forgot about it. And then Shauna gratefully reminded me in our chat box that he had been arrested, because I would search the media every day. I would search for updates on Ellen Greenberg. I would always rely on Mizzy for updates on Sandra, so I would just go to Mizzy's page. But for Suzanne Clark Simpson, for Suzanne Morphew, and for Ellen Greenberg, I would look every day to see if there was any news about what was going on with justice for these three amazing women who were unalived by their husbands, and or in Ellen's case, I believe her fiance. So that's really what's going on. Now, there's a lot going on. So I have put together a case file for all of you about Suzanne Morphew and what happened, and we won't be able to finish it all tonight. There's a lot of evidence. There's a lot that's gone on. I mean, we are talking about tranquilizer in her system when her body was found. Her body was found literally almost accidentally, because the area where she was found, they were searching for another missing person. The search for Suzanne Morphew never went to this place. So it was, I think, Suzanne herself, maybe from heaven or God, or if you believe in karma or whatever you believe in, they found Suzanne. It was not, they would have never found her. I don't think they would have ever looked there. She was in a shallow grave, out in the middle of nowhere. The odds of her ever being found were not very good, but they were looking for another person in this area. And that was how they found her remains. They were able to test her bones. It's trigger alert. This is hard stuff to talk about. And they found the chemicals that are used in a tranquilizer gun to tranquilize animals in her system. Now, this case involves, like I said, tranquilizer chemicals, tranquilizer gun, shell casing of the tranquilizer gun found in the dryer, a spy pen found 10 days after she went missing in the bedroom of the Morphews, infidelity on both their parts, a very toxic, bad marriage. It's almost unbelievable. Like, you feel like, in a lot of ways, like the Karen Reed case, the death of John O'Keefe, you can't make this stuff up. Like, this is just, it sounds like a soap opera, but it's not. It's real life. This really happened to these people, and their marriage crumbled, and they both were involved in affairs with other people. And that's when things get very scary. That's when a lot of the unalivings of these women take place. When the man has either found someone new and he doesn't want to deal with the woman, so that's in his psychotic brain, his way of dealing with it is to unalive her. Or if there's child support issues involved, money, splitting the assets, it's very rare for a woman to unalive her husband. It has happened, and if you have been following the case in Florida out of Jacksonville with the Donna Adelson and Wendy, oh, help me, Julie, what was Wendy's married name? Her husband was shot in his own driveway, and it took years, but they figured it out that Wendy's brother already, the wife of the gentleman that was shot, already went to jail. He was convicted of hiring the men who shot Wendy's husband. And this was all over custody of the children and where they were going to live. And that I followed that case only from the point of it was the very low percentage where a woman unalives the husband. Now, she's never been arrested, but what are the odds that her family did this behind her back? What are the odds of that? But they don't have any evidence against her. So we are going to start kind of looking into that case when we have time on Friday Night Lives. I know Shauna, one of our subscribers and friends of Social Change Warriors, and now a friend of mine, she's been following that case much more closely than I have, but I will definitely be glad to look into it and follow it on Friday nights. But again, 85% of the time when a woman is killed, she is killed by someone she knows, and it's almost always an ex-boyfriend, a boyfriend, her husband, or a former husband. So that's why I am leaning towards that is what happened to Suzanne Morphew, in my opinion. Barry Morphew, that is my opinion only at this time. So let me pull the deck back up here for you. So let's go over some of the timeline with you of what happened to Suzanne. So she was last seen allegedly on Mother's Day, May 10th, but her last proof of life was May 9th. They have a photo that she sent, a selfie that she sent to the person she was having an affair with, her boyfriend. And that was considered her last proof of life. But they do know that they believe she went for a bike ride, because I believe the autopsy that she was wearing biking clothes. So maybe she was about to go for a bike ride when she was unalived, or possibly she was followed on her bike ride by the person that unalived her, who we believe the 85% chance was Barry, her husband, because of the clothing that was found with her remains. Was her biking outfit. It was recognized as her biking outfit. So that all happened. Mother's Day was technically the last day that they believed that she would have been alive. So I'm going to show you this clip. So her daughter's boyfriend and his father showed up at the home concerned. And let's take Barry Morphew. I wrote not so much. He just didn't sound concerned at all. So before I show this clip, I just want to catch up with all of you that are gracious enough and to be here live with me and advocating for Suzanne and all the other people. Amber E says there was no bike ride. Right. I doubt it. I think she was getting ready to go on a bike ride. I don't believe that he unalived her and then dressed her in her bike clothes, but that's possible. I mean, the psychosis that goes into killing your own spouse, your own wife, your own girlfriend is huge. So it's very possible that she could have been wearing something else and maybe wasn't even going to go on a bike ride that day, but he needed that to be what happened. So it's very possible that he dressed her, or she was going to go on a bike ride and was wearing those clothes when he unalived her. I believe that he unalived her in the house. That's my opinion. That's why I don't believe it was a stranger, because of the movement, the erratic movement that was going on his cell phone. Was as if he was chasing something in the house. He claims it was a chipmunk. Some of his statements are so bizarre and so off the chain. Amber E says the neighbors called. Barry asked them to call. Thank you. I couldn't quite remember exactly how she got reported as possibly missing, because the girls were still camping and Barry wasn't around. So thank you. I appreciate that, Amber E. I have a lot of information in my brain this week from all of the different cases that we're following. And so the smallest detail of that was eluding me. So the DA at the time was horrible and incompetent, and he was prematurely arrested. Yes, Amber-E, I do believe that is the case. And I think it was. I don't know about how incompetent, but I think you're right. Because if you prematurely arrest someone and you don't have enough evidence, and then you try to go to trial with that, and that there's no way that a jury could find him guilty, you're done. There's they can't retry him. So by letting him go, that was a very smart thing they did. But arresting him prematurely was obviously a very bad mistake and probably slowed the investigation down incredibly. Amber E says she went on podcaster shows. It was ridiculous. A lot of gross political grandstanding. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's not good ever. So I didn't watch all that. I just saw a little. I know she got disbarred, so that much I did know. But we'll learn a little more about that too next week, because we're going to do part 2 on Suzanne Morphew. We're not going to get through all of it tonight. We will do more next Wednesday. And so, Amber E., I know he's innocent until proven guilty. I only want to see a fair and just trial, but I will always believe in my heart he is guilty. Amber E., I agree with you. I agree with you. My background in domestic violence, working in domestic violence shelters, knowing domestic violence survivors like Levita and our friend Sarah, who came on with us a few months ago, angry survivor, and now Hannah, who we've gotten to know, who's been on with us on Wednesday night, survived domestic violence homicide attempt. I believe that he is. Nothing else makes any sense. It's a 1 in a million that she was unalived by a stranger. The boyfriend was already cleared. He wasn't in the state. There's no way. And he had no reason to unalive her. He had a reason to unalive Barry because he knew that there was major problems there in their marriage and he wanted to be with Suzanne. So had Barry been unalived, I would have looked at either Suzanne or her boyfriend, but her boyfriend had absolutely no motive. I mean, they were obviously in love, and they had gone to, I think they knew each other from high school as well. So that never made sense that he was a suspect in the first place. So I agree with you, Amber. So Susie Boo says, so was she drugged at home, then taken to the place, sadly, where she was found? That's what I believe, Susie Boo. I think he shot her with the tranquilizer gun in the home. I mean, there's a possibility that she could have gone on the bike ride and then he used that as his opportunity to shoot her out in the middle of nowhere where they found her bike. And then he took her body and moved it. He had to have moved it. Okay. He had to have moved it. But here's the thing. The most recent news clips, and we'll get to those next week because we're not going to get to it all tonight, are talking about the autopsy. The ME said that they don't believe that was her first resting place. They believe she was somewhere else. So I think he put her somewhere else and then moved her to this other spot because they said that it doesn't, the shallow grave, the decomposition of the body doesn't jive with the amount of time that she was missing. So they know all this. I mean, forensic science is remarkable. It's remarkable. So I'll show you some news clips about that next week when we do part 2. So he definitely had to have put her somewhere else. It's just horrific that these men can do this. I just makes me sick. It just makes me so sick. But we know that's the case with Brian Walsh. We're going to be talking about Anna Walsh in upcoming weeks. We know that's the case with Fodos Doulos, with Jennifer Farbo-Doulos. She's never been found. Anna Walsh has never been found. Suzanne Clark Simpson in San Antonio, Texas has never been found. Ashley Lachey Elkins has never been found in Michigan. I mean, these men unalive their people, the people they loved at one time, and then they put them somewhere, and then they don't tell anybody, even after they've been arrested. Ashley Lachey's ex-boyfriend has been arrested. Suzanne Clark Simpson's husband has been arrested. Now Barry Morphew has been arrested. Matthew Farwell, he did the whole fake the suicide thing opposed to just hiding Sandra's body because he felt he could get away with it because he was a police officer and he knew what he was doing. And that's exactly what Ellen Greenberg's fiance did. Let's fake the whole suicide, sorry, YouTube, S word, unaliving, and let me get away with it because I have a judge uncle and I have friends in policing and government. So it's one way or the other, or they unalive themselves so they can never be taken to trial. Those are the 3 main scenarios that go on with women who are unalived by their partners. They unalive themselves, they blame it on the woman, they frame her for her own death, or they hide her and they never tell a soul where she is. It's just absolutely despicable. And that's why we have to stand for justice for these ladies. Amber E says, at Susie Boo, she had the animal tranquilizer in her system. It had been metabolized, meaning she lived for a while. Yes. And there is evidence, scientific evidence that it's a slow death when you are tranquilized and you start to lose the ability to breathe. Like it feels like you can't catch your breath. It's just, yes, Susie Boo, it's just freaking horrific. It makes me so fucking mad. It's Wednesdays. We get to swear on Wednesdays. I don't swear in front of my mother. When I do, she doesn't like it, so I always apologize. I don't tend to swear in front of my adult children, except when I'm watching sporting events that upset me. But Wednesdays, I give myself permission to swear, because the unaliving of my fellow sisters in this world pisses me off and upsets me so beyond belief that these guys get away with this. And it is evil, Susie Boo. It is absolutely evil. So it's just sickening. And so Ambery, thank you. You are very knowledgeable on Suzanne. She would normally take her car elsewhere with her bike, and there was no decomposition found in those clothes. Yes, that's what I read too, Ambery. So that he definitely moved her from wherever else he had put her, maybe after he got unarrested the first time, possibly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can talk about that next week. Ambery says, yes, there were a lot of criminals who are free thanks to the former incompetent DA, Linda Stanley. Yeah, absolutely. And we know now there's incompetent DAs here in Florida, because I'm working on 2 stand your ground cases. I'm going to talk about those again tomorrow night. Jason Veach and just Deshaun Hudson, and Brittany's in the chat with us. And Brittany is very good friends. She's going to come hopefully on live with me tomorrow night, and we'll tell you more about what happened to that young man. And they're using the Florida Stand Your Ground law, as in the case of Jason Veach. So both of those cases are just despicable. And it's just, again, they're using a law that is a terrible, terrible law to let people shoot someone else because they can, because they were carrying concealed. Or in the case of Jason Veach, he was held down and asphyxiated by people that made a terrible mistake, that should have just owned up to their mistake, and there would be some justice for Jason. But they didn't. Many of them lied and left the scene, and the sheriff's department did not do a very proper, thorough investigation. They just wanted the case closed, and there's the words to that effect from the detective at the Volusia County Sheriff. So it's maddening what's going on all around our country. In every state, you've got some type of bad policing, bad government, DAs, both sides of the aisle, people. I am a bipartisan channel. I'm happy to listen anytime anybody wants to talk politics. We could do a separate political chat night where we talk about it to each other, because both sides have things that they're right about. Both sides have things they're wrong about. And there's crooked nastiness going on both sides of the aisle. I won't ever have a debate with someone that tries to convince me that it's all one side. That is not true. Both sides of the aisle have major problems. We need to fix our government. We need to fix our police departments. That is what we have to do. And we have to do it as a community. We have to stand together. Our hashtag is just us, because of my dear mother, who worked for the Justice Department in Wisconsin her whole life as a paralegal investigator, and I used to call her Justice. So she always used to say, there's just us. Sometimes justice comes in forms that we never thought it would come in, and sometimes it takes forever for it to come. So we have to stick together as a community and hashtag out, when you're on social media, just us and my life mattered, because everybody's life mattered. No matter who we are on this planet, no matter what we do for a living, anything that we did in our life, when we pass on and we go to heaven or wherever you believe we go, we mattered. Our time on this planet mattered, and we all deserve that kind of justice when our life is taken from us. Amber E says there was an elk bones placed on top of her where they found her. Oh, I didn't know that, Amber E. I will add that into my case deck and look that up. Thank you. I did not hear about that. Amber E, yes, sometimes swear words just fly out. They do, especially when you're mad and angry and upset about something like this. So let me pull up this clip here that I want to share with you guys. This was back from the very beginning when when the boyfriend was alerted to that there might be a problem, that Suzanne wasn't answering her phone and no one knew where she was. Barry was still wherever he was, and the girls hadn't gotten home yet either. They had been camping together. So let me go to this clip to share with you. And I will play it. It's a little bit telling for me because of the tone of Barry's voice, and it's just strange. in most of these cases that we're following, the 911 calls, and I'm actually going to do an episode about 911 calls after the 4th of July. And I'm going to play the 911 call from Ellen Greenberg, Idaho 4, Suzanne, and I don't know if I have my hands on it yet, but I'm going to see if Mizzy can get me the 911 call for Sandra. They're very telling, and they actually tell you things, and there's evidence in them, believe it or not, when there's nefarious things going on. When it's just straight up, then it's just straight up. But when there's nefarious things going on, there's evidence in 911 calls, some of them way more than others. So let me grab this here for you. Let's see, where did I find this video? Yeah, okay. It was on Twitter X. See if I can pull this up. All right. Takes me just a minute to go in and out of the little tech room. I am the producer and the live host. So some live streams that are monetized, they actually have producers doing all this for them behind the scenes, but we don't have that here. So you have to bear with me as I pull up all these different tabs that I have researched, and I have them all open on the tab line. I just have to go through the clicking of sharing them on the screen with you.
Boyfriend.
Okay.
And I'm here.
Is this your truck?
That's my truck.
Somebody check it out. Never mind, I got something here. So you haven't seen the mom at all, have you?
Yep.
Little hard to
the
hear.
2 daughters are gone right now at the moment. The dad is in Denver for a job, and they text her because of Mother's Day, and they haven't heard. The text never went through, like it never delivered since this morning. And she's a big mountain biker. She normally takes her car, and her bike.
Okay, did you guys hear now? That's what happened. The girls were texting mom Happy Mother's Day, and the texts weren't going through for a long period of time. So they were the ones that got concerned and called. One of the girls called her boyfriend. So that I'm going to start this over. That's how they came to the scene. I knew it was something like that, but I couldn't quite remember. So let's go back again. I'm sorry. This is the best volume I can get on this.
The one who knows me best is the one who loves me most. There is nothing I have done.
Daughter's boyfriend.
Okay.
And I'm here.
Is this your truck?
That's my truck.
Somebody check it out. Never mind, I got something here. So you haven't seen the mom at all, have you?
Yep. So the 2 daughters are gone right now at the moment. The dad is in Denver for a job, and they text her because of Mother's Day, and they haven't heard. The text never went through, like it never delivered since this morning. And she's a big mountain biker. She normally takes her car, and her bike's normally in the back of that. It's gone.
Was this open when you came here?
The neighbor was here that opened it, and then she shut it, and she went back to her house. Her house is right over there.
Okay.
And then I came back and I opened it to come in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked in the house?
Sir,
when
when
we
go
outside, you looked through everything.
We're at to where something that she's born today,
All right.
and let's not touch anything just for a case.
What time did you get here?
That's Barry on the right.
6 o'clock, and then I went all the way up Frusis. She's rode up there, and I just drove the main road, couldn't find her, and then there's a couple spots that I could check, like trails and stuff, but I wanted to come back here to just like check back in and stuff.
Okay. Has she ever gone up 225?
Colorado Trail right there?
Like, you know the big hill once you come off the highway?
Well, she hasn't, and I haven't checked there yet because that climb at the beginning is really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be out of
Have you got a
character
plastic bag?
for her to do that, but
or a paper bag?
I mean, someone needs to go there, I think.
Why would you say that? Like on your list, or?
Well, because it's kind of a crazy, climb to get up there. It's like not really rideable. You gotta push your bike before you start riding.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have a driver's license on
Yeah.
you?
It's in my truck. My dad's pulling up.
That's your dad?
That's my dad right there.
Okay. That's 211. Good. No, so this is one of the daughter's boyfriend. And he's saying it'd be out of ordinary for her to travel off that way.
Wait, where did they find her bike?
Yeah.
Do we know what she was wearing? Jacket.
You know what she usually wears when she goes riding?
She has a couple different
Can you
sets
turn on
of
the
clothing
video light?
in terms of what she wears riding, so I'm not
Which
sure
light
exactly
switch
what you put on today.
Okay, what are all of them there?
Blue shorts, blue shorts.
Can you pull
She
her up
has
on
a-
Instagram?
Yeah,
Whatever
she has a
liking
blue
pictures?
helmet, which she always wears.
Okay.
I like turquoise blue helmet.
You guys have her bike though,
Yeah. we do.
but not her.
Not
Where'd you find your bike?
off of that road that I was asking you about.
Oh,
you said it
in
was
Chapman.
Just right up here on the road.
Right up there.
Right near
Sure.
that.
Where that road takes off up the.
She wear any jacket?
Yeah, she probably would have had.
What kind of jacket?
I mean, a windbreaker.
A windbreaker?
I don't know what color.
I saw her,
I mean, we don't even know what time she left today.
Yeah,
but they have cameras.
they have cameras, but they've been out of it.
Hey, Levin, you get a list of something you
So her
built that
bike
you
was
can
close
use
to the road.
That way, we get the rest out there, they can focus on those.
Yeah, it's on that right now. What were some of the trails that says it rides up Cruces?
Yep, she rides up Cruces. Normally, when she takes her car, she goes down to the what's that road called? That's right down to the
Okay, what about around here? She's gonna take her car.
Okay, so she would have gone to Cruces, I assume, or to Colorado.
Across the road, you go straight across the highway to Colorado.
Is the one who loves me most. There is nothing I have done that could change the Father's love. Oh, the one who loves me best.
It's tough, tough to watch that, isn't it? It makes you almost kind of speechless in a sense, because it could be, that could happen to any of us. And 3 women a day are killed by their significant other in this country, which is just utterly shocking. And you see, a house, they had built it not that long ago. They moved to Colorado because their oldest daughter was going to college there. They had been married a number of years, probably close to 25 years. They'd known each other since high school. You just think, how does this make sense? Make this make sense for me. How can somebody who's known someone 25 years, married them, had children with them, lived with them, co-parented with them, just bam, take their life and then hide their body? It's unconceivable, right? But we've seen it. We've seen it so many times, and it's happening to 3 families a day. 3 families a day are losing their loved one, their sister, their mother, their daughter, their cousin, their family member, because of domestic violence. It is an epidemic, and we have to do something about it. Now, Ellen Pence, who was an amazing social worker and an advocate, did so much research back in the 80s that domestic violence can be prevented, that in most cases, these men who are abusive to women, and even the ones that don't lead to domestic violence, homicide, the ones that are just ongoing, where the woman stays married to a very violent man for many, many years because she doesn't see a way out, she has children, financially, there's many reasons why people don't leave their domestic violence abusers. But Ellen Pence did a lot of research that these men can be rehabilitated, that if they can come into therapy, get to the core root of why they are violent, of why they lose their tempers, why they have temper control issues, that a lot of these homicides could have been prevented. The tough part is, and you guys know this, women know this, men are historically horrible about going to counseling, and they're historically horrible about going to the doctor. A lot of our male friends that have passed away, whether it be your husbands or boyfriends or significant others or family members, friends, is because they didn't go to the doctor in time. And they end up having some type of a disease, either cancer or a tumor or something that they could have had diagnosed, but because men just don't like going to the doctor. Is that a control thing? I don't know. A lot of men have control issues. It just seems to be in their DNA, some more than others, obviously. And the ones that end up abusing their wives also have narcissistic tendencies. And that comes from years and years of possible childhood abuse, or in some cases, it's just in their DNA. And narcissism is very hard to cure. It's one of the hardest mental illnesses, because now it is in the diagnostic manual called the DSM-5 for social workers and for therapists and psychiatrists. It's one of the hardest mental illness conditions to cure, because it cannot be cured without self-awareness and a lot of counseling. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to go to counseling. And narcissism is such a bizarre condition that you just won't admit you have it. You just never think that you have this condition, and you have excuses for everything that you do. So a lot of men who have abused their wives or who have unalived their wives are also just flaming, blazing narcissists. And it's a scary, horrible combination. But Ellen Pence believed in rehabilitation for a lot of these men. And she had many, many success stories where men stopped abusing their wives, they saved their marriages, or some of them got divorced, but they were able to stop the abuse, and they went on to lead better lives because of her type of therapy. So I still believe in rehabilitation. I believe it can happen for some people, not for all. And unfortunately and sadly and tragically, once you've gone over the line and you've actually unalived your spouse or your girlfriend, it's over. You're done. You're either going to get away with it, and God help you that you're going to do it to someone else again, or God help that person, I should say, or you're going to get arrested, and then you're going away for a very long time because you took this person's life. You took them from the planet, from their family. So it's tragic. And I think Barry made a very bad mistake, though. If you were watching, he didn't take her car. And if you heard the young man, the boyfriend of one of the girls, and great job to him and his father and whoever else came along to look for Suzanne that day, put out the first cry for help, as you would say. He pointed out that her car was in the garage, and that Suzanne always took her car, that she loaded her bike up, because wherever she biked, she needed to get there via a car, because they did live out in the middle of the country in the mountains. So it's not always safe. So it sounds like she did it the safe way. She parked in a designated parking spot where she could ride her mountain bike and enjoy her exercise. So that might be a very clear sign, probably was one of the signs of evidence for the police, that if she went on a mountain bike ride, why didn't she take her car? If she always took her car. And you could even hear the boyfriend say this was very out of character for her to go on a bike ride from the house and not drive her bike with her in her car. So that I picked up on that right away when I first watched this. Amber E says she confided in her friend that Barry was a Jekyll and Hyde. Yes. And that, there you go. I mean, Amber E, that is basically what narcissist is. They are one thing to the public, to their job, to your neighbors, to your friends, and they are a completely other thing with you in the home privately. And sometimes it sneaks out when they're out in public as well. Sometimes they'll defame you and put you down or make fun of you when you're in a group. That's one of the first signs of that you are in a narcissistic relationship, and that it could potentially go dark and abusive, is when the person who loves you, that's supposed to be your person, your best friend in the world, makes fun of you in a setting where others, and sets you up to be, and of course we all love jokes. We Julie, craziest person on earth, and I, we try to keep it light sometimes too, because we can't be advocates for people if we don't have a little bit of other topics that we talk about, and have some type of humor in some of the things we discuss, because we'll go dark and we'll get depressed and we won't be able to stand for and advocate. So we try to, show you and share things with you that don't just have to do with the victims and their families, a little bit, just to get our mind off of it for a second. Because if we think about it 24/7 like the families do, we don't have that that energy in us. The families have that energy of survival of the fittest. They are trying to get justice for their family member. They have it because it goes on and on until they get their resolution. But we are advocates. We are on the outside. And if we do this 24/7, if we do this 7 days a week without taking a break, without finding some joy, because we deserve joy in our life, we will end up in a very depressed state. It's very serious. It's a dangerous chronic issue that can happen called compassion fatigue. And it is real. Social workers have it. Police officers can get it. Firefighters can get it. Any type, nurses, doctors, anybody that works in any type of field that has to do with helping others can get compassion fatigue. So you have to be very careful if you are an advocate and you're in this volunteer world where we're advocating for victims of crimes and homicides, that you watch for the signs in yourself of compassion fatigue, because it's very dangerous. The families can get it, but they don't get it as much because they have this adrenaline soaring through them to get justice for their person that we don't have, because they're not our person. We care for them. We care for these families. Some of us do know them, but until it's actually your exact person, you don't have that same kind of adrenaline flowing through you, that fight or flight that's going to get you through compassion fatigue. So we all have to be very, very careful about that. But I think that was very telling, that they had body cam footage on that her car was there, that she didn't take her car, that one of the girl's boyfriends said that was something she always did, that was very out of character for her. So in the days following, let me see what I have, another clip I can show you as well. Well, actually, let's take a look at the timeline. This is a great website for all of you that like to follow other cases as well and stand for victims like we do of other cases. They're called the Crime Timelines, and they do all this. I've tried to contact them and thank them, but they are volunteers and they're impossible to get a hold of. So let me put that up for you. We'll take a look at that because that helps to kind of lay everything out. For those of you that are new to this case, and obviously Amber knows even more than I do about this case. So thank you, Amber, for helping me and chiming in with things that I didn't know or have forgotten. Let me go up to this. Let me share this clip with you here. Hang on a second. I'll pull it up. They do an amazing job of giving you the timelines of these cases that haven't been solved. And like I said, I try to reach out to them on social media to thank them for, this is amazing work they do. You have to be very talented to put together they do the case files, they have cold cases, they have disaster resources, and maybe they have a grant to do this. I really don't know. I would really like to thank them somehow, though I wish that I could. But they are very hard to get a hold of, so I haven't been able to do that. But let me share the timeline here with you. And I will put this in the chat here in a minute. I'll also put it on the replay for all of you on the replay. I'll put it on the replay. So you can go here yourself, and any of the cases that we're following, they have Ellen Greenberg, they have Sandra Birchmore, Suzanne Clark Simpson, Suzanne Morphew, a lot of the other cases that you've probably followed that are now, solved, or the case has gone to trial and the person has been convicted. But they have this nice tab here, as you can see. I know it's a little blurry, so let me try to let me at least make it as big as I can for you guys on my end. Hang on a second. There we go. Get myself off of there. So I'm just going to read through the timeline for you. You won't be able to see it very well, but I wanted to give you an idea of what their site looks like. And I'll put it in the chat, and I'll also put it on replay for you. So let me go back here, and we'll go down. They have all of these different. I already pulled up Suzanne Morphew, so she came up. But if you want to find someone else, you just go to case files. That they also have a cold case files where they'll share cold cases with you. But here's Suzanne's timeline. So they say a little bit about her. She was born April 30th of 71. She was the fourth child. She had one sister and two brothers, born in 1955, David and Andrew, born in 1962. The sister's information is more private. Not everybody wants their information out there. So their dad owned Jean's Root Beer in Anderson, Indiana. Suzanne was just 9 years old when her parents divorced, and her mom took a job with an optometrist fitting eyeglasses. It was a job she loved. Suzanne graduated from Alexandria Monroe High School in 1989 and went on to Purdue University, earning a degree in elementary education and graduating in 1994. So she was a proud Boilermaker. Suzanne and Barry grew up in the same hometown of Alexandria, Indiana, and met in high school. Suzanne was 23 years old when she married Barry Morphew on August 5th of 94, shortly after graduating from Purdue and earning her degree. They were married 6 years before welcoming their daughters into the world. Mallory was born July 4th of 99 and Macy on August 28th of 2003. So here is your timeline. So August 5th, 94, they were married and they eventually had the two daughters, Macy and Mallory. December 99, they purchased their home in Arcadia, Indiana. And because now this is very bizarre. It says here, Barry and Suzanne, I did not know this. So this is something new to me. Ambery, you might know this because you know so much about this case. December of 1999, Barry and Suzanne purchased 26040 Kyle Carson Road in Arcadia, Indiana. This is the house where he dug a hole in the yard and buried everything he didn't want to move to Colorado. I've never heard of anything like that before. That's really nuts. 2003, Barry started a landscaping business and Suzanne was a school teacher before leaving the job to raise their two daughters. November 2013, Suzanne inherits, I didn't know about this either. Suzanne inherits $208,000 upon the passing of her mother. Well, rest in peace, Suzanne's mother. 2016, Suzanne inherits $217,000 upon the death of her grandmother. April 12th of 2018, the Morphews purchased 19057 Puma Path. That's the home in Colorado, apparently, I believe, for $1,575,000. And then Suzanne had Hodgkin's lymphoma. I did not know that. So it looks like that returned in May of 2018. Oh no, then they in June 1 of 2018, they moved to Colorado from Indiana, hoping for a fresh start to be closer to their oldest daughter, which is what we had talked about. Barry Lee Morphew started a landscaping business, Sunset Farms LLC, in 2018. And Suzanne, in September of 2018, Suzanne sends howdy stranger message to Jeff Liebler, a high school friend. So he must have known Barry as well, apparently, because they all went to high school together. November of 2018, Suzanne visited her best friend, Sheila Oliver, in Indiana. Suzanne shared intimate details about her failing marriage over text and phone calls. While Suzanne was at Sheila Oliver's house, she had stepped away from her cell phone to use the restroom, and Barry tried calling her several times within a few minutes, then tried calling Sheila, then tried calling Darren. So obviously Barry was already feeling like maybe something was happening or going on back in 2018. And maybe if they moved to Colorado, they were already having marital issues and thought that might be a new start to go out to Colorado. Let me come back for a second because I'm not in the room with you guys. I want to see if any of you have anything else to say. I want to break for a second because I know you can't see what I have up. It's I just pull it up and then I can read it in the tech room. So let's see here. Let me go back to where I want to read your chats and catch up with you guys. Julie says, we saw in trial one of Karen Reed from the Peanut Gallery. Oh, the looks of intimidation you guys were talking about. Yeah, that was scary. Susie Boo says, I had a very strange experience. My first husband started acting odd. We had a boat and we took it on a trip to York in England. We moored it and had to go by bus to spend a few days in York. Interesting, Susie Boo. Our boat was run on petrol, and I did like a cigarette at that time. When we got back, he said, I'll nip to the shop. You go to the boat. And as I got to where it should be, it wasn't there. Oh, wow. And then the lock warden said to me, is that your boat? And he pointed to where our boat had been moved. And I said, yes. He said, we moved it because you have had a petrol leak. It's all in your boat. It was a nightmare. Oh my gosh, Susie Boo, that's scary. That's very scary. Cut a long story short, 2 months later, I came home from work and my husband had gone. That was 20 years ago. He had met someone else. Oh my gosh, Susie Boo, that's frightening. That is very, very frightening. I mean, my goodness sakes, thanks for sharing that with us. And I'm sorry that happened to you. That you must have had nightmares about that for quite a while. And Julie says, oh no, Susie, if you had a gas boat with an inboard, the first thing they teach you is fire in a boat is awful and will ignite quickly with fumes. That's scary. Yes. Wow, Susie. Exactly. I have a feeling it was done on purpose. When I think back, my other half, that wasn't, yeah, I mean, I think it was. I think you came very close to being one of our very scary statistics, and thank God you weren't. She says, and it was odd because it had safety measures. Even the lock warden said that's really odd. It leaked. Does make me think was meant for me. I think so. It sounds like it was. Now there's a possibility it was an accident, but thank God you're okay. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. Yes, Amber says, thank God you're still with us. And that's what I mean. I mean, when you watch that clip of Suzanne and you see her house and her car and they're wondering where she could be, and then they found her bike. I mean, this could happen to any of us. If we're in a bad relationship with a bad character and they decide they don't want us around anymore, this could literally happen to any of us. That's what the statistics are saying, and it's very, very terrifying. Okay, let me go back to the timeline here with you for just a minute. This is interesting to me because I'm reading this all with you for the first time. I knew the gist of the Suzanne Morphew case. I've been concerned for her and worried about her, but there was so much downtime, so much where nothing went on while she was missing, after they released Barry, and then in the last 2 years, 3 years since they released Barry, almost 4 years actually, because they released him in 21. And now we're at 25. So there's just been so much downtime and no media, explaining to us what's going on. So I'm just kind of learning a lot about what happened. And this timeline that these people put together is intense. So let's continue, because this gives us a lot of interesting back information that I didn't even know about. So Suzanne found Jeff Liebler's LinkedIn account and sent a message. I'm worried sick about you. Are you okay? Liebler's responded to the message and they began talking again, first in a platonic way. Then their relationship progressed again. Liebler said they communicated through FaceTime, but did not physically see each other in 2018. So this started as a friends reconnecting, which a lot of you do on Facebook. I've done it before. I've met up, I've talked to old friends that I hadn't seen in years. This is not unusual of Facebook and social media nowadays. Then in January of 2019, during the Mexico trip, Barry took Suzanne's phone to go through. Suzanne was on the beach. Now that's usually how it starts, where men that are controlling and that suspect that you may be cheating on them or having an affair, that's going to, empower them to look through your things. Suzanne was on the beach in Mexico listening to music on her phone, and Barry was suspicious of her. She handed her phone over to Barry and told him, do whatever you want, go through it. So that was all proven through, obviously, the records request to get information from LinkedIn, from their social medias, from their phones. Jeff must have supplied some of it, I'm assuming, in the early stages when she went missing. Then in February 11th through 14th of 2019, Suzanne in New Orleans with Jeff Liebler, they met up in New Orleans. He was there for a conference. So then effectively they saw each other then in person in 2019. Then it appears that in April, she saw him in Indiana. They met up in Michigan in July. And then Barry called Sheila Oliver while Suzanne was in Michigan visiting her father, wanting to know why Suzanne wasn't returning his calls. So that must have been a friend. So that they must have got this information from interviews. Suzanne told Sheila Oliver about leaving her marriage. I sort of wish he would just fed up with me and leave. She wrote of her husband. I told him I'm done. I need peace. So this was way back in 19. They were already talking about that their marriage was over and that they should be looking at a divorce possibly. So it looks like in October of 19, she met him in Dallas. He had a sales meeting there and she was traveling to Phoenix. So she stopped in Dallas. So it looks like they were seeing each other during that time. And then in November of 2019, Barry buys a second phone. So that's interesting. So Suzanne writes, we can't use the phone anymore. Barry watches everything I do, and I'm afraid he's going to find out. Suzanne mentioned an incident where she was on the beach in Mexico listening to music on her phone, and Barry was suspicious of her. Lieber said she started handing her phone over to him and told him, do whatever you want, go through it. And then in January 2020, Sheila O gives Suzanne the spy pen during the trip to Florida. Suzanne sees Liebler and records a conversation with him on this trip. So the spy pen, I'll show you a photo of that. That's very interesting. I'm naive enough that I think those are only in the movies, right? I didn't even know that there was such a thing that you could have a spy pen. I mean, I know that there's obviously surveillance cameras you can put in your house now. There's ones you can hide that look like pencil. We used a camera that looked like a pencil. The old school days when you used to have the pencil sharpeners, we had a camera that looked like a pencil sharpener that we used to catch a thief once in my early career when pencils were still being sharpened, back in 2000-ish. So this is Suzanne takes a call on a speakerphone. Hi, sweetie, I'm good. How about you? Suzanne and Jeff discuss her trip in Florida. She states that Barry was flying to Florida. It was just weird stuff, the whole Valentine's Day thing, but I was kind of happy to hear that. Then it's kind of inaudible. Jeff replied, well, like I said, I don't want it to be a stressful thing. I just don't. And then Suzanne states, Jeff, come on, I'm the one who started the whole ball rolling. She added, I mean, there's a lot that went on last week that I haven't told you about, and not good stuff. So I really think he feels bad about that too. You are not a homewrecker. You are my lover and my sweet friend and the man I love dearly. Okay. Jeff states, I won't. I just want you to be happy. That's all. Suzanne replies, I'm looking at the man who makes me happy. So obviously she was, done with the marriage well before this and was reaching out for somebody to comfort her. And this happens a lot in bad marriages. People reach out to other people because they're miserable, but yet they don't want to get divorced. There's lots of reasons why they don't want to get divorced or they can't get divorced. It's sad. It's toxic, obviously, on both their parts, but it's sad, and it does happen quite frequently. I'm not here to judge them for any of this. But I didn't know about all this. So this is very interesting. So Barry obviously was suspicious of her. So Suzanne and Sheila meet up for a girls' Super Bowl weekend, and Suzanne talks about getting out of her marriage, and that's February of 2020. Then in February 4th of 2020, Suzanne with Libu, so she sees him again while she's in Florida visiting her father. So he flies to Florida. So they're seeing each other now for almost a year. March 22nd, Suzanne placed her recording pen in the truck of Barry as he took a trip to Pueblo, Texas. The pen recorded him listening to multiple episodes of Forensic Files, the murder of Vicki Lynn Hoskinson, who went missing after riding her bike. Hoskinson's sister finds the bike and discussed it was found in the middle of the road. A phone call is recorded between Barry and Suzanne in which Suzanne calls Barry Shirley, his mother's name, after he tells her how to cook. Barry asks Suzanne why she has to be so mean to him. Much of the conversation is unintelligible because of the truck noise. Recording. Suzanne told Barry the following: this is all I hear every day. This is all I hear every day. What I am not, what I should think. I am not listening to that anymore. Listen to me. Listen to me. Barry is interrupting. I have lived for years being told how I should feel, how I should act, how I should look, how I should drink, what I should put in my body, what I should put in my body. And then it says it's on, you can't hear it because of the truck noise. No more talking now. So it's definitely sounding more and more like this marriage was not going well for a very long time, and that Suzanne was incredibly unhappy. It sounds like, according to what she's saying here, that Barry, was very, very maybe mentally abusive and bossy and sounding a lot like a typical narcissist sounds. So they were able to get all these recordings off this spy pen, which is very bizarre. So a lot of these recordings were going on then that whole spring, and into, it looks like May 6th of 2020, Suzanne let Barry know their marriage was over. So she was definitely not being quiet about a lot of this. So I will send you the link, and you can go through if you're interested in looking at the rest of all of these conversations that they were able to garner from the spy pen. It's a lot. And then there's all kinds of case files that they have listed in here. It's really amazing work that they have done for those of us that are interested in advocating for people. So this is the timeline they have now. So I'm going to, before I read you the timeline that they have, which is quite intensive, I just want to come back and check up on all of you and see how you're doing. It's a lot to process, to understand that this was a long time in coming. It sounds like it does sound like that there was possibly some premeditation, that, in some cases of domestic violence, a person snaps, and there was no premeditation. They're arguing. It goes really dark, really bad, really fast. But this does sound a little bit like premeditation. Hi, Kathy. Welcome. I'm sorry I didn't get to chance to say hi to you yet. Welcome in tonight. Good to see you and hear from you. And I'm just trying to catch up with you guys a little bit. Let me see where I left off. It was a scary story by Susie. Bless you all. It does make me think. It was very odd. We had the boat for 2 years. I'm happily married now. Oh, that's really great, Susie, and love to you as well. And I'm so happy for you. And you just really escaped a very scary situation. Yes, Amber E., she was looking for emotional support. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. I think most people, except for those that have been very fortunate. I mean, there's so much that we have to be fortunate for if we have been lucky enough to marry someone that is a good person, good-hearted and kind, and we're a good-hearted and kind person, and you go through life together, and there isn't a lot. All couples argue. All couples have fights. All couples have moments where they probably consider that maybe we should get divorced. But most of them get through it. They make it through. They go to marriage counseling, or they do their own self-counseling, and they get through it. And that's, that's the 55%. But in my true opinion, based on what I know, and probably you might all agree with me, of that 55% that have never been divorced, I really feel there's a high number of unhappy marriages, because we witness them. We see them in our society. We see them amongst our friends. A lot of people just, we can never answer that question. Why didn't she leave him? I got that question asked a lot when I was doing presentations, public speaking on domestic violence survival. A lot of us that have never gone through anything to that degree, we can, it's easy for us to ask that question. It's like the old saying, the armchair quarterback thing, why didn't he pass it to so-and-so? He was wide open. Or why didn't he give it to the running back? It's same in sports. We're always asking questions. Why didn't this happen? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And it's same thing happens to domestic violence survivors. They get asked the question, why didn't you leave? Well, there is no easy answer to that, because we all have different reasons. When you love someone and you can't conceive that they're doing mean things to you, you can convince yourself that they're going to change. Or in some cases, women convince themselves it's their fault because the domestic violence abuser is so good at it and he's so smart at it. And especially if they have narcissistic traits, they will gaslight you. They will make shit up about you. They will tell their friends that you did things you never did, or they will tell you that you said things you never said, and make you feel like you're crazy, like you're losing your mind. And when you get in these situations, you get very depressed, and then your normal self is clouded. It's clouded with all of the abuse, the mental abuse, and if you're being physically abused, the physical abuse, and then you're just trying to be in survival mode. And if you have children, you are scared. You don't want to hurt your children. You don't want to take their father away from them, especially if there's no abuse where the children are concerned, and then you start to feel like it is all your fault and that you just have to get along. I just have to get along. I've heard many domestic violence survivors say to me, if I can just make it to the next day, if I'll just do everything he likes, everything he wants, and then we'll get along. But that's not how it works. Domestic violence abusers and narcissists will always find something wrong with you. They will always find something to criticize you for, or to talk about you behind your back, to try to turn people against you. It's a very, very severe mental illness when you are a domestic violence abuser and a narcissist. It's very scary and very severe. So it sounds like, from what we were looking at the timeline and what we were reading so far tonight, that this marriage was really not in good shape, and that it had been going downhill for a long time. And then there is evidence that Barry was actually seeing someone as well. So he was seeing someone as well, and he was trying to catch Suzanne seeing someone as well. It sounded like Suzanne was definitely done and just wanted it to be peacefully over and amicably over. It's hard to say why they didn't just sit down and discuss divorce. If Barry wanted out, if he didn't trust her anymore, or if he was seeing someone else too, could it have been the money, dividing the assets? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It may or may not come out. But it's just, this is literally a scary textbook version of what happens to so many women in bad relationships. It all starts out and it just slowly goes downhill. It starts out with verbal abuse. It starts out with both being unhappy, both being miserable, not wanting to get divorced for whatever reasons. Then it can lead into violence, when in Ellen Greenberg's case, she had bruising in different stages of healing on her body. But the medical examiner changed his mind and overruled himself. He originally ruled Ellen Greenberg's death a homicide, but then after pressure from the Philadelphia police and the powers that be, they didn't want any of this looking towards Sam's direction, her fiance. So he overruled himself and then said, no, she unalived herself. How in the world someone stabs themselves 20 times? And he knew for a fact that she had bruising in various degrees of healing. That is a clear sign of possible domestic violence. Now, unless she was a gymnastic person or a partner's figure skater getting dropped all the time, what are the odds that Ellen Greenberg, a school teacher, would have bruising on her body in various stages of healing if it wasn't from getting kicked or hit by her partner? What are the odds of that, right? But they managed to overlook all of that and left her poor parents with this unaliving of herself back in 2011 that they've had to fight in the courts all these years for. So we'll have an update about Ellen next Wednesday, because there's nothing happening right now. Her parents won the lawsuit against the city of Philadelphia because they settled, and the settlement was that the city of Philadelphia would pay them an undisclosed amount of money for all the pain and suffering they've been through because of the poor investigation and what looks like a very corrupt investigation. And then they were supposed to reinvestigate with all of the new information. The fact that the medical examiner from back in 2011 recanted and said that he changed his mind, that he looked at all the new evidence, and the new medical examiner that the parents hired, which points to the fact that she was strangled and then unalived by the stabbings, and they haven't done it yet. So this happened in early February that they settled their case in Philadelphia. And now we are approaching July 1st, and they have not paid them their undisclosed amount of settlement money, and they have not done anything to reinvestigate her death. So now what? Now what do we all do as advocates? So I'm going to try to contact her family again. I've emailed with them before and with her cousins on the Facebook, Justice for Ellen Greenberg. So I'll try to find out more information and tell you about that next week. I just want to go over a couple more things for Suzanne for tonight, and then we're going to do part 2 because there is just so much involved in this case. We're going to do part 2 for Suzanne next Wednesday, and then a little bit about what I find out about Ellen Greenberg and any new information I have about Sandra Birchmore and the trial of Matthew Farwell, and maybe a little bit about Anna Walsh, because that trial's coming up. Brian Walsh, he claims, that he's innocent, but guys, the evidence is there. They did arrest him. They did have the proper evidence to arrest him, but we're dealing with the same nefarious characters from the Sandra Birchmore and Karen Reed, John O'Keefe case with Brian Walsh, Proctor, lead investigator in the death of Anna Walsh, and that's causing problems. So we're going to fill you in on that next Wednesday as well. So let me go back here. I'm going to pull up just one more clip I want to show you. I'm going to stand up and stretch for just a second, and then we'll do part 2 next Wednesday. So feel free to take a quick stretch break while I look for this next clip that I'm going to show you. So we're just going to fast forward ahead to what the news was this week. We did a little bit of background, and we'll do some more background next week. We'll talk more about the tranquilizer gun and the autopsy report. But I just want to talk a little bit about, the actual breaking news that happened last Friday. So I'm going to pull that up here for you real quick. While I stretch my knee and my back because of my 62 years of age on this planet. I get a little sore during live streaming, so I have to make sure I stand up off and on. So I am stretching for a minute for all of you that are there. And I'm just going to play this article here for you, which gives us the little bit of catch up into what's going on.
We love providing free news to the city of Denver. From coverage on protests and politics to our annual Top 100 bars and restaurants issues to things to-do lists every week.
Let me know if
But
you can
it's
hear
not
that,
actually
if you
free
guys
to run a
wouldn't
free
mind.
paper. It costs money
This
to
time
print
I've
our
tried
papers
doing
and keep
a
our
read
reporters out there
article.
covering Denver. Westward members help us keep doing this at no cost to the reader. We don't believe in paywalls, but we do believe in community support for local journalism. You can become a Westward member at westward.com/support by giving any amount to support our newsroom.
Can you guys hear that okay?
This is an automatic reading of the article. Barry Morphew case explained. Husband charged in wife Suzanne's murder for second time. Colorado was rocked by the vanishing of Suzanne Morphew in May 2020, a 49-year-old mother of two who seemingly disappeared into thin air during a bike ride in Chaffee County on Mother's Day. Suzanne's husband, Barry, made national headlines with his emotional pleas for his wife's safe return, offering a $100,000 reward for information, sharing her old love notes and declaring he would do whatever it takes to get her back. But 1 year after Suzanne went missing, Barry was arrested for her presumed murder, though her body had not been found. A messy year-long legal battle ensued, ultimately culminating in the charges against Barry being dropped in April 2022, days before the case was set to go to trial. While the case seemed to go cold, a major break came in September 2023, when law enforcement discovered Suzanne's remains while searching for a different missing woman. Now, authorities say the remains revealed evidence that once again points to Barry as the prime suspect. Suzanne's bone marrow contained a chemical mixture known as BAM, which is a tranquilizer used for sedating animals, according to an affidavit from the 12th Judicial District Attorney's Office. Law enforcement had previously found a tranquilizer rifle in Barry's gun safe, and Barry had admitted to using BAM for hunting purposes, the affidavit says. The prescription records show that when Suzanne Morphew disappeared, only one private citizen living in that entire area of the state had access to BAM, Barry Morphew, the affidavit reads. Barry was indicted on a first-degree murder charge on June 18. He was arrested in Arizona on June 20 and is now awaiting extradition back to Colorado. As the state awaits a second murder trial, here is a look back on the many twists and turns in Suzanne's case that have led to this moment. May 2020, Suzanne goes missing. Suzanne was reported missing by her neighbor at 5:46 p.m. on Mother's Day Sunday, May 10, 2020. Barry told police he was in Broomfield for a work trip at the time she disappeared, claiming to have left home at 5 a.m. that morning while Suzanne was still asleep, the affidavit says. Investigators found no signs of forced entry at the Morphew home at 19057 Puma Path near Salida. Suzanne's bike was missing from the property, and found later that evening less than a mile away, down a hillside off a dirt road between the house and Highway 50. 4 days later, on May 14, Suzanne's bike helmet was found off the side of Highway 50, around 1.52 miles from the house and 0.84 miles from her bike. 1 week after Suzanne video of himself in tears, pleading $200,000. Over the next month, authorities received hundreds of tips and conducted nearly a dozen large-scale searches for Suzanne, including tracking dogs, water rescue teams and tactical mountain rescuers. Investigators spent days searching the Morphew home and a residential construction site near Salida that Barry had recently been hired to lay dirt at. The searches yielded few results. Barry avoided speaking to the media for weeks, but in a secretly recorded conversation with an amateur sleuth, Barry suggested that his wife was abducted. August 2020, Barry blames investigators. A couple of months later, Barry conducted his first media interview since the day of Suzanne's disappearance, claiming that the sheriff's office screwed up the investigation and now they are trying to cover it up and blame it on me. He alleged that his friend witnessed deputies mishandle the crime scene when they found his wife's bike, saying they destroyed the evidence. Barry now speculated that Suzanne was attacked by an animal or struck by a vehicle while biking. Other people also began speaking to the media around this period, including Suzanne's brother, who accused Barry of denying polygraph tests and being uncooperative with the investigation, and two of Barry's coworkers, who said Barry behaved strangely on May 10, before Suzanne was reported missing. At the time, Barry denied that he refused to take a polygraph, but an affidavit released in 2021 revealed that Barry did refuse to take the test when requested by law enforcement 3 days after Suzanne was reported missing. That October, Barry listed the family's house for sale, telling media outlets that his daughters were afraid to stay at the home because they believed Suzanne was kidnapped there. It sold for over $1.6 million in March 2021. May 2021, Barry charged with murder nearly 1 year after Suzanne vanished. Barry was arrested on May 5, 2021, for charges of first-degree murder after deliberation, tampering with physical evidence and attempting to influence a public servant. The latter charge stemmed from Barry allegedly providing false information to investigators to conceal Suzanne's murder, the affidavit says. Though Suzanne's body had still not been found, investigators said they believed she was killed, and District Attorney Linda Stanley said she was confident they had sufficient evidence to prosecute Barry. Prosecutors later added charges against Barry, including tampering with a body. In a separate case, he was also charged with forgery after election officials discovered that Barry had illegally cast Suzanne's ballot in the 2020 presidential election, months after her disappearance. Barry reportedly told investigators he did it because he wanted Trump to win, and he figured all these other guys are cheating. August 2021, marital problems revealed. Affidavits and preliminary court hearings revealed that the Morphew marriage was rife with conflict leading up to Suzanne's disappearance, despite Barry telling investigators they had a perfect relationship. Suzanne had been having an affair for 2 years and suspected Barry was as well, even planting a spy pen recorder in Barry's truck in an attempt to catch him in the act. Though the pen did not uncover evidence that Barry was unfaithful, investigators testified that deleted search history on Barry's phone revealed visits to the dating website Ashley Madison. An affidavit revealed that Barry began a relationship with another woman shortly after Suzanne went missing, possibly as early as July 2020, 2 months after his wife vanished. Evidence provided in court showed that Suzanne seemingly told Barry she intended to end their marriage just 4 days before she was reported missing, texting her husband on May 6, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." That same day, Barry texted Suzanne, apparently suggesting he would commit suicide, "Going to see my savior. This life on earth is a mere, sick, grain of sand compared to eternity." 2 days later, on May 8, Suzanne texted her sister, claiming that Barry was abusive. "It's been hard dealing with the harsh abrasiveness and having to show respect. He's also been abusive, emotionally and physically," she wrote. The preliminary hearing also revealed that investigators found a tranquilizer dart cap in the dryer in the Morphew home, that Barry was seen on surveillance cameras on May 10 driving around to various locations and discarding unknown items in separate trash cans, and that investigators found male DNA in Suzanne's car that corresponds with partial DNA profiles from sexual assault cases in different states.
We love providing free news to the city of Denver. From coverage on protests and politics to our annual Top 100 bars and restaurants issues to things to do lists every week. But it's not actually free to run.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you. I want you back. So.
I'll be right back, guys. Just finishing my stretch break. I'll be back in just about 1 minute.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you. We miss you. Your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you. I want you back so bad.
Well, I don't know what you guys think, but that to me was the most unfeeling. I didn't believe that for a second. I remember when I first saw it, back when this first happened to Suzanne, and that was just some kind of pathetic. I don't know what to say about that. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it for a second. Hi, MCAT, welcome. So same thing when Barry is heard in the background, and I'll play that one for you next week. He's heard in the background when they're out searching for her. And they're on some mountain ridge. There's first responders everywhere, and you can see the police car flashing. And he says something about, "Do you think a big cat got her?" And it was just so, I don't know, it just eerie. It was just eerie, like already trying to plant the seed that she could have been attacked by, a mountain lion is what he's referring to. So that nothing makes sense with what Barry did. Now, I looked this up for you guys because I was thinking about this. The beginning we've covered what happened and a little bit about what happened, and then I read to you from the True Crime Line folks, and I'm going to post that on the replay for you all if you want to look at their website. It sounds like they were having marital problems for a long time, way before they sold their home in Indiana and moved to Colorado. And, this happens. I mean, people go through bad streaks in their marriage. Some of them make it out. Some of them go to counseling. Some get divorced. But they were doing very toxic, unhealthy behavior, right? I mean, that's not me judging them. That's just facts. They were both seeing other people for at least Suzanne for at least 2 years, it sounds like, when she reconnected with an old friend from high school that obviously Barry must have known as well. And then Barry, they know that he was seeing one woman prior to Suzanne going missing, and then he started dating someone just months after, and she actually has now, I believe, spoken out for the first time, but I didn't have a chance to listen to that. So I will listen to that, and I'll pull that up for you all for next week for part 2, because she has now spoken out for the first time, and I believe that their relationship fizzled in 2024, in the fall of 2024, but he had been dating her and seeing her just several months after Suzanne went missing. I don't recall where he met her, how he met her, but why didn't they get a divorce, right? Why did it have to come to this where the evidence is showing us that it is very possible that Barry Morphew is the one that unalived Suzanne, that he shot her with his tranquilizer gun and left her to die and buried her in one place and then moved her body to the place where she was accidentally found because they were looking for another missing person, and arrested him, unarrested him. Then 3 more years has gone by where the case has been relatively quiet. We haven't heard much because everything they were doing was behind the scenes, trying to get the evidence, trying to get enough to arrest him properly so they can take him to trial. And that just happened last Friday. So why didn't they get a divorce? This is just my humble opinion. Why? Colorado is not a 50-50 divorce state in the strict sense. Colorado follows the principle of equitable distribution when dividing a marital property during a divorce. This means that the court will divide marital assets and debts in a way that is considered fair and just, but not necessarily equal. I can tell you that is probably why Barry Morphew did not get a divorce, because he absolutely did not want to have to give Suzanne more than what he thought was her fair share because she had been a stay-at-home mom. And this is a reason why people stay married all over the country, because the woman decides to stay home, she gives up her career. So when they do get divorced, then there's going to be some type of, they used to call it alimony back in the day. Now I just think they call it maintenance. And the man ends up paying maintenance because the woman gave up her career to raise the kids. And then they get divorced when the kids grow up. And there's all this animosity and hate. And you hear this going on a lot, I'm sure, with your family and friends, ex people that agree or disagree with these amounts or what the court deems or decides. But I'm guessing that given the fact that they were living in a $1.5 million home and Barry had started his own business and she was not working and had not worked for quite a long time. She was a school teacher way back when, but then she had the kids. So there's no doubt in my mind, but this is my opinion, that this was all based on money, that's why neither one of them wanted to pull that trigger and just go file for divorce. But it sounded like Suzanne was leading up to that she had been conveying in her messages that they were able to look at and see that she did want them to get a divorce and be amicable about it. And so we'll never know if they could have gone through an amicable divorce, because 85% of me believes that Barry just didn't want to share any of it with her and was an angry man that had violence tendencies, verbally at least. We don't know about physical, but definitely verbal, and premeditated this. That's really what it looks like, in my opinion, based on what we've been able to look at tonight and what I've looked at many times in the last several years. So what are all of you saying? Let me catch up with you guys here real quick in our friend zone. What do you guys have for me? So Amber E., thank you at Social Change Warriors. This case touched me from the get-go. Yes, Amber E., it did me too, because of the people I know that have suffered through domestic violence. And like I said, Lavita is a survivor of an attempted homicide, as well as the new friends that we've met since I started live streaming, angry survivor. Her name is Sarah and Hannah. We have been fortunate and blessed and honored to meet these warriors that are now advocating for other women to get out of these abusive relationships before it's too late. So thank you, Ambery. I'm so glad to have you back. And we will continue. I'm going to catch up with your chats here for a minute, and then we will continue with more. I have a lot more to share and show you regarding Barry and the evidence that has been compiled against him. And we will most definitely follow this case and give you weekly updates, and we will follow it into trial. We'll follow along with we'll see. We'll see if Melanie or if any of the law tubers that we've gotten to know from the Karen Reed case, who I respect, they're excellent at what they do. We'll follow along with them. We may live stream a little bit of ourselves if it's covered, because something I'm going to end with tonight is I'm going to tell you a little bit about a case that, and that I hate to step away from Suzanne, but I really want to tell you about this case that I didn't even know about, that I'd never heard about. I like to follow lawyer Laura Lee a little bit as well, because I followed her during the South Carolina mess up there. She covered that daily. She found out, has been following a case that is getting no coverage in the media at all, and it certainly deserves it. It's another domestic violence homicide of a young mother who was only 35 when she went missing. She has never been found. It's convoluted as all get out. There was already a trial for one of the suspects, and he was convicted. I don't know enough about it to tell you, but I'm going to find out and share it with you more next week. The boyfriend is now on trial, started today, but it's not being covered, and she was very upset by that. She thought it was going to be covered. She literally got in her car and drove to Kentucky so she could cover it live. And so I'm going to try to see if I can show you a little bit of her stream here, because I think this is a case that a lot of you that care about victims of domestic violence and are going to be interested in, that I, again, didn't even know existed out of Kentucky. This poor girl went missing in 2015 and has never been found. And the other reason why I wanted to talk to you about this case is don't give up hope, because this was a case that was a look to be cold. And it took them many years for the prosecutors, for the DA, for the police, the sheriff, whoever was involved in this, to come to be able to get all this together. And it's very dark. Her father was killed in 2016, the year after his daughter went missing, and they believed that he was M-worded. He was M-worded on a hunting trip with his daughter's son, his grandson. So now this poor kid is 12 years old. His mother's missing, presumed dead. His grandfather is shot right in front of him on a hunting trip from a long distance away. They had to investigate that, and they didn't know at first it was connected. Obviously, they had to treat it like it was unconnected, like it was an accidental hunting, because this does happen where people get shot accidentally when they're hunting. So it was treated like that at first, but then they connected the dots, and it's just been unbelievable what this case has gone through. And I cannot get over that there's nothing about it in the media. It's just sort of shocking to me. So I want to show you a little bit about that to close out tonight, but we will come back to Suzanne next week. We will talk more about the evidence that they have in this case against Barry. I'll read you the indictment that they have against him. It's long. It's very long. We won't read the whole thing. But let me catch up to you guys here for a second in the chat. And then I will, I wanted to show you this photo. So this is what the spy pen looked like. This is what was found, my darn allergies. This is what was found in the home 10 days after. And they were able to get a lot of information from this. I obviously knew, because I've always been interested in crime and espionage movies and books, and before the whole day of social media and YouTubers and law tubers, I read a lot of true crime and fiction crime, and watched a lot of the old James Bond movies. I'm sure a lot of you have too. So we all, Mission Impossible, we've all heard of all these tools, but I didn't actually know they were available to the public, that anybody could go put a spy pen in their bedroom or in their husband's truck. I mean, it all seems so surreal to me. So MCAT, yeah, I don't understand why couples have affairs and stay together. Yeah, it's mind-boggling, but it is, again, we can't judge unless we're in the position, because again, a lot of times this has to do, like I was just reading you from the Colorado, is not a 50-50. Like Wisconsin, the state I am in, it's 50-50 no matter what. It's almost completely unheard of for anybody to get, for a woman to get any type of what they used to call alimony, unless you had no means to survive and your husband had all the money. Well, that'd be a different case then, but it's primarily a 50-50 split, where whatever you have together gets divided equally 50-50, regardless of who earned it or who brought it in, unless you have a prenup. There was some type of inheritance that you got and you had a prenup for that, or whatever the case may be. But there's no way for us to know, MCAT. I mean, people do things for various reasons that some of us would never understand, because we wouldn't do it. I was divorced very young because I refused to stay in a marriage that was not working for either person. And it was not healthy for me or for him. And I'm not going to go into all that, but I'm glad I did what I did. I've been divorced a very long time, not by design or on purpose. I've just never met anybody else that I felt that I could marry, because I have a little PTSD from it not going well the first time. So I probably have that on board too, but I've never married again. And I had a perfectly healthy, happy life for the most part with my sons and my family and my friends and various boyfriends I've had through the years. I've had some decent ones. I've had some atrocious ones. You just never know what you're going to get when you put yourself out there in the dating world. It's scary, but it's not a reason to stay married. I would never, ever advocate for anyone to stay in an unhappy, toxic marriage ever. And Julie says, yeah, me too. And yes, I did start early tonight, MCAT, because Suzanne wanted to join us from over across the pond, one of our subscribers and social change warriors advocates from England. So I was chatting with her earlier and said that I'd be happy to start a little early on Wednesdays, because she wants to be able to join us at times live, opposed to on the replay. And Wednesdays are just free for me, so I'm happy to start at 7 Eastern on Wednesdays. Then tomorrow night, for Calling Out Corruption, we're going to be going a little bit more in depth into the Deshaun Hudson case, which is another ridiculous and horrible Florida Stand Your Ground excuse for not prosecuting the person who shot him 14 times in an Applebee's. And where Brittany was with us earlier in our chat zone. Thank you, Brittany, for allowing me to talk about Deshaun, your dear friend, and for contacting me on social media. We'll learn more about that tomorrow night. We'll be at an 8 o'clock Eastern time start. And then Friday Night Lies, we'll be going over more of the fallout from what's going on this week in the Karen Reed. Whew, there's a lot going on. The people on social media that believe that Karen Reed is guilty, even though the jury says no, have gone off the chain. I've never seen anything like it. And so Julie and I will be covering and talking about that on Friday Night Lies, and that'll be an 8 o'clock start Friday night. So get your pizza order ready, because we all like to have food while we eat. I've even live streamed on Fridays in my pajamas because we go so late. Julie and I can't seem to stop talking about what happens during the week with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. So we end up live streaming for 4 hours on Friday nights. And I finally gave up and I just live stream in my pajamas now. It's not, I don't even care. So I hope you'll join us tomorrow for more about Deshaun Watson and a little bit about Jason Veach, both Florida Standard Ground cases, in my opinion, the law being used completely inappropriately. And then Friday Night Lies, we'll be reviewing more about Karen Reed and letting you know more about some of the other trials that we're going to be talking about on Friday nights. So to end with, as far as Suzanne, we'll pick up here. So this is evidence of him on surveillance camera at the hotel he was staying at. So we'll pick up here next Wednesday, and we'll talk more about the evidence they had when they arrested him the first time, a little bit about what went on with that prosecutor, and now with what they've been able to compile with evidence this time around, and any new news that might come out this week as to when his first hearing may be. So we will come back to you, dear Suzanne. We hope you're resting in peace. We're so incredibly sorry for everything that happened to you that day, and obviously for all the sadness, the stress that led up to it is just horrible. But what I want to share with you now going forward, and for anyone who watches this, it's a family member or a friend of Suzanne's, you absolutely have my deepest condolences. I will continue advocating for justice for her, and that they can convict the right person of the crime. I am 85% convinced it is Barry, and I'm very sorry to the daughters if this is the fate that you have now, that your father did this horrible crime against your mother. It's just nothing children should ever have to go through. So we're incredibly sorry and sad for you, but we are looking at the evidence here at Social Change Warriors and the statistics of what happens to women who are unalived by their spouses. And it's an alarmingly high number. And as we've been live streaming today, one woman has lost her life and other women are currently being beat up. That's just the statistics of while we've been on together for 2.5 hours. It's alarming and horrible. And if you know of anybody in your life, family, friends, neighbors, that you even have an inkling could be a sufferer of domestic violence, try to contact someone in your area, domestic violence shelter. If you have a way of talking to the person, it's difficult. It's very difficult. We don't want to invade in people's lives. We don't want to accuse someone's spouse or boyfriend of this type of violence, but this is what saves these women's lives. If you take that risk and that chance, that if you even have an inkling that this person is a victim, it can save them. It can save their life. So do it carefully by all means. So give me a second. I just want to pull up a little bit about, I'm just going to see if I can find, I want to get Laura Lee up here for you because I want to share her channel with you as well, because I really like her. So I'm going to see if I can, she was going to go live tonight. I don't know if she did because she had a long day. She traveled and she was in court. Let me refresh her page and see if she did a live stream about this. Yes. Okay. So we're just going to peek in for a minute for fair use. And then I'll write her an email and let her know that we're going to be sharing, that we shared her for fair use purposes. So let me grab the share screen here again real quick, and I will share her live with you. I don't know how long she's been on, so we'll probably be behind, but, I can give you more of what's going on here. Like I said, Crystal Rogers went missing in 2015. She was a mother. She was living with her boyfriend. Then her father was mysteriously killed on a hunting trip. And it has taken them all these years to piece this case together and get enough to, for all these arrests that have been made, because his his brother is still considered a suspect, but he's not under arrest right now. The boyfriend was arrested and now is at trial with another friend who helped him. It's very dark and very deep. So let's see what she's up to here.
Design your own personal varsity jacket with the exclusive custom jacket builder by Stewart & Strauss. Our unique jacket builder is...
I guess I'll tell you at least a little bit about what happens in this phone call.
So I'm going to rewind this because I want you guys to get the gist of what she did today.
I am right side up. We're
well,
going
this is Laura Lee.
You know, the full effect here. So let's see. Poor Lee sideways was okay. Well, thank you, Loretta. I appreciate that. It's been quite the evening. We will have to truncate what we were going to do. We're going to have to shorten it just a little bit, but it's such a good day. I did not want y'all to mention this. I did not want you to miss this, I should say. So, okay. Also, don't mention it. That too. All right, let's see. I'm going to be looking at the wrong place probably. Let's see where I would normally need to look there. I think that would be straight. I don't know.
All right. Just so down to earth.
We're just going to, as long as you can see me and I am in the correct direction, that is what we'll have to do.
You guys hear her
all right,
okay?
So here we go. You can see that what I thought I would do is give you kind of just a little color commentary about what happened today. And let's see, I do not want that. Okay, there we go. So I thought I would tell you a little bit about like the courtroom and what it's like. It's really a pretty big courtroom, like take Delphi, and you know, it's a lot bigger than that. There are a lot of people here. There are a lot of family members. There are a whole bunch of people from the media. So there's not a ton of extra room for just public, but there aren't that many by the time you count everybody is, so fitting into those other categories like media and stuff. So up front, there are 3 spots for people to sit, which would be like an appellate court, really. The judge sits in the middle, and sometimes a clerk sits in the middle. There are so many lawyers in the courtroom. You would be amused. So on the Brooks Houck side, the defendant, there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lawyers. And of course, there are 2 defendants. It's not just Brooks Houck, it's also Joseph Lawson. And let me back up, because I know for a lot of y'all, I've done 7 videos about this over time, but a lot of them were a while ago, and y'all may be new to the case, and you may be wondering, like, what is this even about? Like, why are we covering this? So let me just give you the super short version of what the case is about, so you'll be caught up at least with that. And then go back and watch those other 7, and it'll kind of catch you up to where we are. So there are about 6 or 7 people you really need to know to be able to understand the case. The 2 central most important people are Crystal Rogers, gorgeous, like mid-30s, mother of 5, and she disappeared, was last seen on July 3rd of 2015. So it's been 10 solid years since she disappeared, and she is now presumed dead, and the person being prosecuted for her murder is her boyfriend at the time, Brooks Houck. They lived together. They had a child together who was 2.5 at the time. Now, there is another person. There are actually 2 people who have already been convicted in connection with what happened here. One was convicted in about, I think it would have been about a month ago, roughly. Stephen Lawson was convicted of helping with the murder. So he was an accomplice. I'm not remembering the 2 exact charges, but the bottom line was he wasn't convicted of the actual murder, but rather of 2 things that went along with and supported that. Okay, that's number 1. The other person who has some conviction in the past is someone who was charged with lying to the grand jury. The reason this matters so much is he pled out, got a reduced sentence, and according to the defense, he was strong-armed into turning against Brooks Houck, the boyfriend, who is charged with murdering Crystal Rogers, the mother of his child and his live-in girlfriend. Okay, so those are really important people. Now, Stephen Lawson, I said he was convicted. His son is on trial with Brooks Houck. His son, full adult, is actually at the time was not paralyzed, has been in, I think, an auto accident since then, some kind of accident, and now is paralyzed and is it's right there at council table now. I really wanted to show y'all this little drawing. So this is like the whole courtroom. Skip most of that, but I wanted to show y'all. Let me see how close I can get. Right here. This is my beautiful drawing, my courtroom sketch, if you will. Okay, so all of these are lawyers sitting at the lawyer's table. Here's the judge up here. Here's the jury over here. Here we all are back here. So there are all these lawyers arrayed around there. So you've got the judge, the jury, way back in the corner. Now, sitting right in the middle of that, you've got lawyer Houck. That's Brooks Houck. And then lawyer. And directly behind Houck is another lawyer. And then all the way over here in the corner, like an afterthought, like no one is even mentioning him. He's like barely there at all, is Joseph Lawson. Now, he could spend many years in prison, but he's just kind of, pushed to the side, and it's all about Brooks Houck. They mentioned him. I'm not saying he's not mentioned, but it's just sort of a strange circumstance because, I mean, here he is on trial in connection with the murder, and he's just pushed way back in the corner. So those are the people you really have to know, but there are two more that you're going to need to know. Those are, so the two Lawsons, brothers, father, son, one already convicted, one on trial, Brooks Houck, Crystal Rogers, but there are two more Houcks you have to know. And those two are Rosemary, who is the mother of Brooks Houck, and Brooks' brother, Nick Houck. So those three Houcks are ultra important because we have gotten word from the prosecution today that they think they have called Rosemary Houck, the mother, and Brooks Houck's brother, Nick. They've called them and said that these people are all part and parcel of the conspiracy. They were very clear on that. So that's sort of the lay of the land. Those are the people you need to know to kind of begin to understand it. And then, of course, as we go through it, it'll all get clearer. It is.
So that's just your little sneak peek into what is an incredibly convoluted conspiracy case out of Kentucky that I had never even heard of. And so I do want to cover a little bit about this. I want to advocate a little bit about this for this dear, sweet lady who did not obviously deserve any of this. And then her father as well. What a travesty for this family, and just unbelievable levels of conspiracy and corruption in this. And look at how long it has taken to get justice. So I wanted to share that with you because I ran across it today because I like to check up on lawyer Lee. She's really interesting person and very excellent at her content creating as a law tuber, and just see what she was up to because I hadn't checked on her in a while. And I'm like, what is this case? And the fact that she just jumped in her car and would drive there so she could cover the case live and go in the courtroom is really something. I mean, it really shows how much she cares about advocating for the victims and their families. And so I'll teach you a little bit more about that case next week when we're done with our next section on Suzanne, and then we'll see how much more we want to follow along with this because it's deep. It's very deep. So Julie sent me a note in the chat box that she wanted to do a teaser for our Friday Night Lies. I'm happy to do that. I'm glad she wants to pop up. So let me bring her up to the stage. Let me just remind you that tonight our main focus was on justice for Suzanne Morphew, and we will continue. We have a lot more information to share with you all next week, and we'll also give you updates on Suzanne Clark Simpson, who was also unalived by her husband in San Antonio, Texas. and they have never found her remains to this date. And his trial is coming up. I hope this fall, but I'll find out more information on that. And then also more about Sandra Birchmore and what's going on with Matthew Farwell and Ellen Greenberg. So we'll have more updates on all of these ladies that we're advocating for, but the majority of our next Wednesday will be spent on finishing up the whole entire complete, catching you up to where we are with justice for Suzanne. So thank you to her friends and family and anyone else that has watched, and that we are glad and happy to advocate for you. Not happy, we wish it would have never happened, but we're grateful that we have the ability and the knowledge to do this live stream and to continue to advocate for the victims of domestic violence. So let's bring Julie up on the stage and let's find out what she wants to tease us with on Friday. I have a tease myself. I have hopefully 2 special guests coming in Friday, but you can never guess if someone's going to back out because there's so much going on with this case right now. A lot of people are very concerned about libel with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, and being very careful with who they accuse and what they say. And it's very hard to know if the guests will come or not come on Friday. I hope they will come. They're welcome. We will be very cautious with our questions and be very respectful of what they can and cannot answer. But hopefully we will have 2 special guests with us as well on Friday night. But even if they can't make it or they choose not to make it, Julie and I always have 4 hours worth of content for you on Friday night. So don't worry, you won't be bored. Hi, Julie.
I can keep it down to 3.5.
Well, we could try to get it down to 3. That's always been my goal is Friday Night Lies is 3 hours, but we can't seem to stick to that any Friday night.
Well, the news has to kind of slow down a little bit and give us a friggin' break. But I mean, just
I know it.
Not like one after the other. But yeah, very interesting all the libel shit that's going on. I mean, we talked about that with the Facebook groups, with people that still want to say anything. The news coming out of Canton, where number one, they have a new interim chief, which I guess is a good thing. I mean, people in Canton seem pretty happy about that.
Right.
But the other news that came out is that there are now new charges because apparently standing across the street from a pizza joint with "I Love Canton" is witness intimidation and picketing. So I don't know what the fuck is going on, but
I know.
What do I know?
We're chatting about that. And so now just when they thought they were done with all of that, now they're going to come up with more charges now against Rich, right?
It's Richie, and it's Richie the Ducky King. He was holding a sign that said Chris Albert resign. So these have been ongoing. So for the Karen Reed stuff, every Sunday at Legacy Place in Dedham, they would do a standout for Free Karen Reed. And then the last 2 months or so, they've been going in Canton.
So MCAT wants you to back that up again. Can you?
Yeah. All right, wait a second. Yeah, I'm getting to that. So there's the stand-up Free Karen Reed in Dedham. Then afterwards, people from Canton and residents of Canton, Stoughton, and people who have interests there, and people who support them would go. They would change out of anything related to Free Karen Reed, and they would go and they would support Canton and do standouts for the select board. And they had an election, and I forget when the election was, but to basically say hey, change Canton. They had signs for I forget the name of the school that was there that they were trying to keep open and close or whatever it was, but they would hold these signs saying, hey, let's do this. And they would live stream on Resistance to Silence for number one, to make sure things were okay. But number two, to show hey, this is what we're doing. We're, we have American flags. We're, interested in what's going on in Canton. Canton has nothing to do with Karen Reed. So things were okay for some time. But then I guess this past weekend, they didn't broadcast their lives. And I guess what happened was, I don't know if it was just the two of them or whatever it was, but Mr. Dixie, Canton Kronk, John Camo, his sidekick, Eric DiGirolamo, went with Richie Schiffer, the Ducky King. And Eric had a sign that said, I love Canton. Richie had a sign that said, Chris Albert resign, and something else, I guess. And the police went by. John Camo talked about it on the Young Jerks after the select board last night, but police went by and said, hey, you're harassing, move along. And they're like, what are we doing? We're across the street. I think they were across from C.F. McCarthy or something like that. So they weren't directly, and they held signs, and I guess that they found out because they put it in the paper, so they didn't even receive summons yet, but the word's out that they're getting charged. So, yep. So that's that.
All right, I'm pulling up your clip here that you want me to pull up a clip here. I'm going to pull that up here. Hang on a second.
Oh yeah. So that's not related to anything. So the other thing I wanted to mention, and I'm going to mention this, and we've mentioned this the whole entire time through, is that on JFK's stream, he had call-ins, and he was talking about like all the stuff that's going on recently. Oh yeah, wait a second. Oh yeah. So we talked about JFK and my hard-hitting expose. I wanted to do a follow-up on my hard-hitting expose for Schmurder Sharks. I actually found the clip of the person doing this. Now I sent it to a friend of mine and I said, we sound like a bunch of assholes because this is how we sound. But it turns out I think it's a woman. I thought it was a man shouting, but you can hear, this is the clip of the actual shark, the Schmurder Shark in inlet in Rhode Island. And this is the clip of the person shouting, and you can hear how they sound and see if I did an appropriate impersonation. All right, yeah, you can go ahead. This is more funny than anything else, but
all right. I gotcha. Hey, got a second. Let me get it back up here. You hear it?
There's a shark in the pond. Shark in the pond.
You see it came up.
There's a shark in the pond.
There's a shark in the pond.
Shark in the pond.
So I said man, my friend said woman. I don't know, but I guess they were at a restaurant, and all of a sudden, Schmurder sharks. So this is a basking shark. Like again, it's a large shark. The basking sharks are filter feeders. They have really big mouths and they open, but they look very similar to a great white. And people who are in a restaurant, most likely, unaccustomed to sharks, see something like that and go, oh my God, run, there's a shark in the pond. So I wanted to show the clip to show like, yep, we don't make this up. Every single season it's, yay, the snow is gone, now it's time to go to the beach. Oh my God, the sharks are going to get you. So that's just a little bit of levity, because
I thought you did a great job imitating "There's a shark in the pond."
There's a shark in the pond. Yep.
It was perfect. Okay, what do you got for us here?
Okay, so the second one. So so before we get to that one, I just wanted to say, so along with the stuff that's going on in Canton and whatnot, so JFK, I had a caller, and this caller, for whatever reason, said, oh, I called D&E to try to get the goods and this and that, and then JFK just like shut him down and was like, what the frig are you doing sending pizzas to all these people and trying to interfere? Like, stop that. So we've been all along this whole entire time, leave the goddamn family alone, okay? They've been through enough. Let them go and do their thing. Like, I understand you feel bad, you want to reach out, like, I don't know, go for a walk, talk to a flower outside, look at the clouds, tell them, write a letter, and then put it in a, drawer in your house. Please just leave the family alone, because this is getting ridiculous. This person was like, oh, I'll send the family pizzas and this and that. I was like, no, don't do it. I'm going to say this every single time. Leave the family alone. Just leave them be. They'll get to, where they need to go eventually, but just leave them alone. But okay. So the second thing is, for Friday, I was just rewatching some clips, and all the stuff came out where the McAlberts did their little testimony to ABC, where, this is why you don't want to be this and that, and they had their little thing, and then Brian Albert said, I would have taken a bullet for the guy on the lawn, R.I.P. guy on the lawn, because he can't even say his name. So I started thinking about Proctor, and then this story came up. So this is from 2 days ago. Is this the story from? Yep, this story is from 2 days ago. So this is about a state trooper who was hit by I guess a smart-ass kid screwing around on a motorcycle, and some bad things happen, and we don't want anything to happen like that to people, but they show the kid going into court, and I just wanted to show you, tell me if you could spot the difference between this clip and what we just saw in the Karen Reed trial. So go ahead.
Your personal data is probably exposed. I've worked in cybersecurity for The man accused of striking a state police trooper with his motorcycle near Revere Beach on Monday faced charges in court earlier today. Prosecutors say the 18-year-old intentionally hit the officer and then left the scene. NBC 10's Oscar Margain is joining us.
This is in
live
Revere.
from
This is
here.
Revere
Oscar, I
Beach.
know
This is
earlier
on the North
today you
Shore,
spoke with that
north of
suspect's
Boston.
father, and that father is telling you a different
And it was
story.
right outside of the barracks that are right on the beach.
Yeah, Colton, I spoke with the father, as you said, and he basically admitted that his son did hit the trooper with the motorcycle, but he says that he didn't do it on purpose. He also added that his son did leave the scene after that incident, but he said he did it because he was afraid. In the end, the father ended up accompanying his son over to the police department.
He's a nice kid. He doesn't control himself. He's sick mentally.
Abdel Atif El Mukhtari speaking in defense of his 18-year-old son, Akram, shortly after the teen's arraignment Tuesday in Chelsea District Court.
Count 1, assault and battery.
All right, take a look at the court.
Akram was kept from public view while charges were read in front of 20 state troopers
And pause
who
right
lined
there.
the back of the courtroom in a show of support for Lieutenant Donald
Oh.
Bossy.
Wait a second. Can you go back like 5 seconds? There you go, right there. Okay. Can anybody spot the difference between this hearing and any hearing in the Karen Reed case? I'll give you a hint.
That's pretty obvious.
Now again, I know that Judge Bev said no uniforms, but it's pretty obvious. You could tell. I think there were a total of like 3 Boston officers Boston patrolmen, Boston police who showed up.
Right.
I mean, this is a little kind of different because this happened to be right in front of the barracks, right on the beach for state police. But they had to go to Chelsea, which I mean, it's another town over, but still. So I saw that and went, wow, because ever since the John O'Keefe case started, I mean, one of the things that got my antennas up is, where is Boston? Why wasn't Boston on the scene? Oh, okay, maybe they know exactly what happened and we don't need to go for it. Okay, why isn't Boston in the courtroom? I figured that Boston police would be there, hammering this through to make sure that they got justice for their fallen brother, and that they were gonna, throw the book and then some at Karen. And then I didn't see anything from Boston, and then she got upcharged, and I said, oh, this wasn't resolved? What the hell is going on? And then, like JFK and Sean and all these other guys saying, like, you can't bring a patrol car, you can't bring something. I mean, look at what's going on here. And the same thing in, I think it was the Chestnut case that was in Bev's courtroom. You can't bring something, like nothing. This is what you're doing here. I mean, in the Chestnut case, I think like there are a bunch of officers. They're always there to, support fallen. I mean, this guy, I mean, he's very hurt. But I think he's going to be okay. But still, it's just very, very, very unusual. And so I saw that and said, things that make you go, So
did you want me to play the rest of it? Is that just is that what you wanted to show?
Yeah, no, I want to keep it here forever. Yeah, so I saw that and said, that's interesting. And then I had some other updates, but we can get that to that on Friday. But while we were going through this, I was going through some old testimony, and we've already seen this person on Friday Night Live, but with some of the revelations that have come out with images, with stories, with their own interviews, I think it'll be very interesting to talk about some of this on Friday, because I don't think anybody's touched upon this, because I remember this from this person's testimony and went, ooh, this is interesting. Let's make sure there wasn't a false memory, a la Devers or Devers or Miss Denver or whatever the frig. So I checked it and it's there. So come back on Friday. That's a tease. So
yes, that absolutely. We have.
Hopefully, there's more murder sharks too. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yes. Well, who knows what else will come up with between now and Friday? But we're hoping that we're going to have 2 special guests to introduce you to and chat with a little bit about what's happened in this case, the John O'Keefe death investigation. And just so that you all know, we will continue to advocate now for justice for John O'Keefe, because many of us believe that Karen Reed did not hit him with her car, that it wasn't just a matter of the CW not proving their case, which is the reason why the jury acquitted, because the CW Commonwealth did not prove their case, and the evidence did not convince the jury that she, beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty, committed that act. So that means somebody did, because he didn't unalive himself. So something happened to John O'Keefe that night, and we're going to continue to advocate for justice for him in whatever way we can going forward. But right now, there's still a lot going on with the whole fallout of the verdict and the those on the other side of the aisle who are unhappy with the verdict, and just all kinds of shaming of the jury members this week on social media, people's Facebook accounts getting shut down. I mean, it's just been a bizarre 3 days. Today's only Wednesday, so who knows what else is going to happen between now and Friday that we'll be able to share with you and show you clips and different types of things that people have been saying, and different, small snippets for fair use purposes of the different live streams that have been going on. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So thanks, Julie, for coming up on the platform and giving us a little bit of a sneak peek of what you want to talk about on Friday Night Lives. And we'll have plenty to discuss with you guys. So again, I'll be covering what happened to Deshaun Hudson in the Villages in Lake County, Florida, which is only about an hour to my west, and tell you more about what I feel is a very improper use of the Florida Stand Your Ground law. And that case is very similar in Jason Veach's case, that I feel they also improperly used that law. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow night. And then Friday, be back with Julie, and we'll go over everything that's happened with the Karen Reed case since the verdict came in. So thank you to everyone for joining tonight. Thank you for caring about victims of homicide and their families who have no justice. Thanks for coming on Wednesday to our happily justified Angry Bitch Club, where we talk about all the different victims that we're standing for and the different travesties that are going on in their cases. Either they're not getting solved or they're not having proper investigations. We just come here on Wednesdays to have a little bit of a bitch session with you all and talk about anything that we want to talk about that has to do with justice for victims of homicide. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate you. Thanks to everybody that was live again tonight with us in our friend zone. You're so appreciated. And thank you to everyone on the replay. We will continue to stand for victims of homicide and justice for their families and justice for them, because they are telling us from wherever they are now, heaven or wherever we go when we leave this planet, my life mattered, just us.
See you Friday.
I'll see you tomorrow, and Julie will see us on Friday. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge and name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered, it's a cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives, we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life matters, it's the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or
I might do this for a while. You know, it's quite frankly, there's just always new content. Like I feel like there's like a lot of shit I need to go over still. A lot